between power and understanding, the freedom in knowing the gravitational call to the stars, the refinement necessary to keep them from colliding, the knowledge that our story isn't precautionary tales or careless whispers. Your systems will be measured, their void put on display. We are the color born of a galaxy in darkness, black excellence, the fourth element, the fourth element, the fourth element, the fourth element. Citizens, how's your spirit? Mine? Working on it. Got some things going on in the background. One doesn't want to get its act right for me. So give me just a moment. Ta-da! I think I done it. I think I done it. I don't know, guys. Can you hear the sound? Here, let's try this. If you can hear the sound, then I done it. If you can't hear the sound, then I ain't done it. Let's see. Sooner. He's a last true mouthpiece. Nope, there's no sound coming from there. Oh, absolutely. Give me just 1 second, guys. Sorry. I'm alone with you. Interesting. Not, it doesn't want to share it that way. I worship like a actor. It's always something, you guys. Hey, who's in the chat? What's going on, Ivana Lakeisha? How's your spirit? Well, I'm having a hard time with my YouTube music, and so I wanted to try title. And it's not working in my favor today. So let me see if I can get my YouTube music up and get it to act right. Give me 1 second, guys. Anywho, in the meantime, what's going on with you all? How's your spirit? What's new in your world? Sorry, let me get the graphic up there. Really tonight, it's just I love our folks, all of them. Hey, Rashawn Day, thank you so much for checking in over on Twitch. I appreciate it. Tomorrow's my Twitch day, so tomorrow I'll be over on Twitch more than I am here on YouTube. Yeah, y'all know me. Gotta try to do things the way that I enjoy them. So let's do this. Oh yeah. See, my YouTube premium music is out right now. And so, well, not right now. I had to make some choices because of, you know, after we lost everything when well, I lost all of my stuff when I went on my little expedition. And so, anyway, nothing else we can with the way that we've got it working here. So we're going to do share screen. Because Rashawn, you know how I feel about doggone ads. I swear I promise people put them in louder than they actually are, whether they say it or not. I know it to be true. So I really don't care for ads in that way. My spirit is actually peace, Ivana Lakeisha. Now, if you saw me over on Critically Drinking earlier, one might not believe so, yet, as they say, sometimes you just got to put a little passion in it. Anyway, we're going to just have a little discussion here about blue buds more than anything. This whole KumBayah, everybody loves everybody. Come on, let's light the campfire. And you know, we got to be real about some of the things that are true. When you talk about classism in this community or in this country, we need to understand that. So, anyway, though, you know me, guys. We got to get some theme songs in there first. What are you doing up this late at night? What's your theme song? What's a good theme song? I see. What's a song about sunshine? Maybe. Uh, oh, you know what? Let's see. How about this one? Edit. What's your theme song? What's your favorite? Hmm. Oh, that's a hard one, guys. I can't really think of one to say for. What's your favorite Blue Blood song? Um. Okay, how about this? What's your favorite false flag song? You know, out here stunting like you black, but you really not that black. What's that? What's your favorite one of those? In the meantime, though, I'm gonna play this just because it was up here already.
And that's the sound of the hand.
Give me a 5 in the chat if you can hear.
True serum.
Hey,
That's what we call it. And God for the thugs too.
Drop the top and let the sunshine in. No wood grain, let the Twinkies spin. Get you a glass, mix the coke and the hen. It's quite alright. Put the throw in the wind. Put the throw in the
thank you,
wind.
those 5. I appreciate
Collar green neck bone heat. Always wearing my jeans baggy saggy. No Florida, Georgia, side khaki lackey. Rolled up, eat spam and sandwich up. Sugar water, egg, mayonnaise sandwich. Share the room with about 4 more brothers. For one home for one, no more covers. A little bad mother. Always going and always in trouble. None of my teachers ain't like me. I make it so bad, poor hand said more like me. You grow up the way I did. You got to understand, Trick love the kids. Trick love the kids.
Top and let the sunshine in. No wood grain, let the Twinkies spin. Get you a glass, mix the coke and the hen. It's quite alright. Put the throw in
Alrighty,
the
Martin,
wind.
here you go.
Put the throw in the
What you does on that?
Alright, you guys. I really hate that part. Oh well. Hey. I swear, you know that it comes with that guitar strut. You gotta funk to one side and kick, and then you funk to the other side and
There's no
kick.
guarantee.
You get funky on all sides and you kick.
Smile is in the making. We gotta fight the powers that be.
Y'all
Got
can't tell
so
the old
far
one is
said.
music way.
Sit on the seat.
Donna, how old are you? Did you when the
Giving
bell
up all
bottoms
around
came
me.
back? Were you in the bell bottom generation then?
Faces
No.
full of pain. I try to play my music. They say my music's too loud. I
Uh-oh,
try
get it.
talking about it. I got the big run around. And when I roll with the punches, I got knocked on the ground by all this bullshit going down. Hey, time is truly wasted.
Going down. Okay.
There's no guarantee. Smile is in the making.
Okay, let's see. What else? Where can we go from there? I don't know why. I mean, it doesn't really like lead into it, and yet I need to hear it. Nope, not that one. Not that. This one. Hey! Oh! Get it! I'm telling y'all, in my spirit, I'm skating around this little apartment complex right now. I'm so ridiculous. Anyway. 235 had to clean house every Saturday morning. Shout out to the Saturday cleanup crew, boy. Them came to people to party on Friday night and Saturday morning. You thought you was going to be cool. Mama had other things. She got plans for Saturday afternoon and
make you do it.
Damn, sucker. Get it.
Hey, get it, get it.
Get it.
And you know you want to see a song and then they want to find it for you. It's really irritating that way. Where it goes.
Damn, sucker. Shine the spotlight on it.
This one right here. Come on. See, I hate this part. It's okay. It's alright. I will be paying the stream bills at the end of the week. Some things are more important. Anyway, let's see. Hey! Alright. I got you, Ivana. Shout out to the lovely young lady who moved in upstairs. She gave me a truly mango hard cider, hard soda. I added some berries, frozen berries, to help with my medicated. Right now, I'm still finishing off the bowl that I started at 6.
We're gonna have us a good time tonight.
And that bowl has some chocolate cake,
every time that we meet,
hey,
and we dip to the beat. Hey, what in the world could be better than getting together? Yeah. The last time we had a party,
hey, come on,
it ended when the sun came up. That's why your mama told you that you couldn't go out. Stay in the house.
All right, which one you want first, Ivana?
Gonna sneak out tonight.
Hey, you're going to slip by her window,
'cause
she
she wants to
get out.
Everyone's here and I'm all in.
I'm gonna go loot the first and then back out.
I know it's hard to
Oh, there's a better love.
this is the party no one wanted to miss.
Hey, birds of a feather, great minds think alike, huh, sis? Hey, so I got a decade on you, Ivana. What do you think this older woman could learn from your generation? Oh! Get it?
Girl, that's what I got. Lately I toss and turn at night. I hold my pillow very tight. Wake up to find the covers on the floor. I can't go on since you've been gone. Sometimes I don't know what I'm living for. See, I don't know what it told you about the better life. His better cars and how he can treat you better.
I gotta see something.
But none of that will keep you warm at night.
We're gonna go back.
He'll give you
But I
more,
saw this.
but who could have a better love?
From Legend of Tarzan, Better Love by host I'm curious now. Ivana Lakeisha says, honestly, I think me and you honey heck yeah, I think we're in the same spot. Now, what that says or does, you know, I think that we're in a position where we have to lead for the understanding in a time where folks may not want us to lead or understand. So I feel you on that one. Alright, let's try the Soldier Better Love real quick and then we'll do the other. I can't even like mute it because I can't find the little mute thingy to make me happy. Oh,
I once kneeled in shaken thrill,
yeah,
chase the
nah, I'm
memory
good.
of it
Just
still, of
needed to know
every
that one little thing
cheer,
right there, and
chided by the
now I
silence
know
of the
I'm not
hush
deep with that at all.
sublime, blind to the purpose of the brute divine. But you and mine, staring in her blackness at some distant star, the thrill of knowing how alone we are, unknown we are, to the world and to the both of us.
Hey, get it? What? Get it? Get it? Get it? Get it? Oh, you know where I'm going after this, don't you? You know what's coming next, right? Vonda says, like y'all taught me how to act around white people, but I ain't taking no shit. I'm not a yes man at all. Amen. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think that it's that latter part. Some of my peers have missed the I ain't taking no ish off nobody. Right? We gotta move the way we gotta move, and yet you can make folks understand you gonna respect me. Uh, hey, 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 hey. So part of me wants to do like an 80s aerobic video right now, and then the other part of me wants to get right to the 90s. And I know anybody my age or around there is gonna know this right here. So, peace,
Party
Patrice.
people!
How's your spirit? Thanks for joining.
Tag team music
Hey.
in full effect. That's me, DC, the brain supreme. And my man Steve Rowland. We're kicking the flow. And it goes a little something like this. Tag team back again. Check it to wreck it, let's begin. Party on, party people, let me hear some noise. DC's in the house, jump, jump, rejoices. There's a party over here, a party over there. Wave your hands in the air, shake the dairy, yeah. These three words mean you're getting busy. Whoop, there it is, hit man. Whoop, there it is. 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 Whoop, there it is.
Upside down and inside out, I'm about to show all you folks what it's all about. Now it's time for it to get on the mic and make this party hot. I'm taking it back to the old school, cause I'm an old fool who's so cool. If you wanna get down, I'ma show you the way. There it is, let me hear you say.
Alright. Anybody else got a theme song for me? Why is your spirit silent? My spirit is peace, overjoyed. I'm almost 3 months old, so I'm enjoying the world. But what's going on? What's going on in your neck of the woods, Patrice? Um, I can make the space or drop the link if you want to come up and discuss it. It's totally up to you. In the meantime, if anyone else has a theme song, I am more than welcome, willing to take on those as well. Uh, let's see. She says, but I also know people from that same generation that's like, yeah, whatever, I'll be alright, I'm out. Uh, we kind of run the gamut. Yeah, one of the things that I realized, is that my mother and a lot of her generation passed around the same time, and it seems as though it's purposeful, not it's each an individual story, yet so many folks of that age being gone now means that there is a void, right? The people who can talk about the music, the people who can talk about the similarities. If you didn't have purposeful parents who put that information into you or put you in a situation to get that information, then yeah, you kind of make the decision to either go all in with the go along, get along gang, or pull all the way out before you figured out how to move in society. Because the thing is you've got to know how to move in society in order to be able to create your own anything. Because you got to deal with it at some point. Yet we've got to be better about what we're teaching, what we're doing, how we're doing it, that sort of thing. So, yeah. Again, Patrice, like I said, if you would like the space to come up, you know that you are welcome to do so. Um, it's a mainly friendly environment as always over here. I'm not gonna drop the link though, unless that's what you want to do. In the meantime, we're gonna do. Anyone else got a theme song or well, no theme song. I'm not ready to get into the video yet, so there's that. Ivana, were you able to figure out your internet? I mean, your sound issue last night, by the way? That reminds me. Um, excuse me. So, yeah, I just think that that's it. Now, let's see. Where do we go from Whoop? There it is. Well, I guess we have to go to Tootsie Roll. Like, you cannot do a Whoop, there it is without following it up with a Tootsie Roll. Because you're just not acting right or paying respect to all of the 90s. I swear to great goodness, I can't stand these stern ads, y'all. I'm gonna get my act right in a moment.
The butterfly, that's on. Let
Let
me
me
see
see
the
your
Tootsie
Tootsie
Roll.
Roll.
Yeah, 1994. 69 boys backed up by the quartet DJs.
You don't have to do anything with your
Let me see the Tootsie Roll. Come on. Just make that Tootsie Roll. Here we go. Just make that Tootsie Roll. Yeah, come on. Let me see that Tootsie Roll. Get up and roll. And make that Tootsie Roll. To the left, to the left, to the right, to the right, to the front, to the front, to the back, to the back. Now slide, baby, slide. Just slide, baby, slide. Just slide, baby, slide. Come on. To the left, to the left, to the right, to the
Oh
right,
my
to the
gosh, you
front,
guys.
to the front,
Okay.
to the back, to the right. Now dip, baby.
Let's see
Come
what
on,
other
let's
songs
dip,
came out in the
dip,
90s.
baby, dip. Just dip, baby, dip. Just dip, baby. Cotton candy, greedy, yo. Let me see the Tootsie Roll. I don't know what you've been told. It
It
ain't
ain't
the
the
butterfly,
butterfly,
it's
it's
the
the
Tootsie
Tootsie
Roll.
Roll.
A brand new dance song. Grab a partner and get on
Get
the
on
dance
dance.
floor. And work them hips a little bit. Then do that dip a little bit. Oh yeah, you got it. No
No
ifs,
ifs,
ands,
ands,
no
or no
buts
buts
about
about
it.
it.
And
Hey,
you
you
over
over
there
there
with
with
the
the
long
long
hair.
hair.
Keep
Check
bumping that
that
dairy
dairy
up.
up.
Cause it ain't hard.
Hey.
Just a brand new dance for the 1995,
1995.
69 in the place to be. AOC,
AOC.
what we came to see. Cotton candy, greedy, yo.
Yo, let me see that
Tootsie
Tootsie
Roll.
Roll.
Here we go,
Hey,
come on,
Tootsie Roll.
come on,
Tootsie Roll.
let me see your Tootsie
Tootsie
Roll.
Roll.
Come on, just get on the floor.
Thank y'all for joining me for my evening workout, by the way.
Here we go. Just I feel a whoop coming on.
Oh, coming on. Oh, coming on. Oh, coming on.
Come on, yeah, come on, and
Y'all better stop. Uh-oh.
yeah,
Woo.
baby, cotton
Y'all,
candy,
I
sweet and gold.
I swear to goodness that man shows up right on time every time. Just as I'm about to get out my character, here messy cousin right behind him. Y'all know y'all be doing the most. That's the funniest ever. The funniest. Thank you, love, for joining me from the from Twitch. Darrell, thank you so much, cousin, for joining um uh the conversation. Really, you know me, we're just doing the theme songs, trying to find out what's going on. You two got a theme song for me? It can be pretty much anything. I really just thought we need a Monday night woosah after some of the stuff going on out there, from our bumbling president to black folks who forget that they black halfway through their talking points to um Uh, just listen. I got a problem with. I don't care if one immigrant feels some way about me talking about another immigrant. Like real talk, unless you prove yourself to be an ally to this community, no one really. I'm sorry, not sorry. You gotta understand that. It's we're not required to cape for anyone. Certainly not over ourselves. I went in earlier. Sometimes it be like that though. Yes, Miss Patrice, you can hear "Ain't Nobody," even though it's so. We're gonna get an ad first, y'all. Forgive me. I miss Shaka Shaka Khan. I was watching the randomness with Bell, and he was saying, I think he said he saw Shaka Khan this weekend or recently. No, before the pandemic. Sorry. Anyway, here we go.
What is Omen
I
Oasis?
told
Omen
you.
Oasis is a virtual room where you can host
Damn
exclusive.
nuisance. Ta-da! I found the mute button though. Isn't that nice? Yay! Don't judge. Here we go. Psychedelic Shack? I can't say that. No, I've heard that one. That title, anyway. Hey! Get it!
Thought you effortlessly. That's the way it was. Happened so naturally. Didn't I know it was love? The next thing I felt was you holding me close. What was I gonna do? I let myself through the stars. But this night will last forever. I've been waiting for you. It's been so long. I knew just what I would do when I heard your song. Fill my heart with your kiss. You gave me freedom. You knew I could not resist. I needed someone, and now we're flying through the
I
stars.
should try
I
to drink
hope
some
this
water before I
night
be
lasts
all up in here singing
forever.
and whatnot,
Ain't nobody, nobody loves me better, makes me happy, makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody, loves me better. I wait for nighttime to bring you to me. Can't believe I'm the one. I was so lonely. I feel like
Thank
no
you,
one's
Patrice.
here.
That
I
was
must be
fantastic.
dreaming.
I hope that helped
I
your
want this
spirit out.
dream to be real. I
That's
need
the
this
whole point of doing a
feeling.
theme
I
song.
make my wish.
The whole point of doing a theme song is to get kind of a spiritual check-in for you with me. Maybe we can have a conversation about what's going on in your world and help you find a new theme song if necessary. Or just, make sure you get a good vibe of that one along with the folks in the community. So anyway, here's Psychedelic Shack, and then we'll get back into it. Hey, went right to it. Nice. Well, welcome to the creepy opening.
Hold it. Listen.
Oh, I feel like Brother Clarence needs to pull up with the Jerry curl and the Chucks, though. I know I'm a little bit early for the Jerry curl, but still, I feel like Brother Clarence and Rico gonna pull up, hit us with some messiness.
Let me tell you about a place I know. To get in, it don't take much dough. Where you can really do your thing.
Marcus.
Oh
Welcome.
yeah, you can hide your
Hey.
fortune told. You can learn the meaning of soul. There ain't no such a thing as
Ah. You said can't let you go? You
East
got
side's made it
it.
everywhere. I guarantee you this place will blow your mind. Music so high, you can't get over it. So
Hey.
low you can't get
Either.
under it.
Hey.
Around the corner, oh yeah, just across the track.
Okay. Yes. All right, here we go. Before I let go, before they tell us out. Man, I swear, it's driving me. It does irritate the flow just a bit, but we were working around it. Any user.
Whoa, whoa.
Hey. Oh. Go slow down.
You made me happy, this you can bet. You stood right beside me, yeah, and I won't forget. And I really love you. You should know. I wanna make sure I'm right, girl,
Y'all see I ain't got up, but I
before
lost
I
the light
let
on me.
go.
Darn shame, ain't it?
We've had a good time. That's the
That's right, darling.
saying.
It's in the fold of the onesie.
We've hurt each other. Girl, it's a shame. I won't be foolish, no. I wanna know. I wanna make sure I'm right, girl, before I let go. Yeah. You know I think the sun rises and shines on you. You know there's nothing.
All right, you guys, we're gonna get into this medicated moment, and then we're gonna get to it. While we're waiting, though, if you have any other theme songs, please feel free to put them in the chat. Um, and we will do them after the medicated moment, and then we're going to have a discussion. Patrice, before that, though, like I said, if you want to come up, just only because you said that you were, in my word, vexed. We'll do it that way. She said ball of confusion. Thank you. That's what it was. I was like, I cannot remember the word in the beginning. Thank you. Uh, you think fine think Beyonce sang. Oh yeah, no, there are some folks out there in the world who think that Beyonce sang it first, Patrice. You're right, and they are so wrong. But that's why we here, Patrice, to be able to educate the youngins to what it is that they're missing. So tonight's medicated man, I'm trying to tell you something. Um, somebody getting down up there. Anyway, it's a nice smell to it, kind of earthy, sweet a bit. Really nice trichomes on there. Look at that deep green, nice color to it. So desert runs. I'm sorry, dessert runs. I don't know why. It's because I'm in the desert and I just have to keep reminding myself so I can deal with the heat. This is dessert runs. It's 22% THC. And then we're going to go ahead and put some of the concentrate on top of it. Y'all, shout out to Darrell for being a petty cuzzo last night and pulling up in the stream pretty much just to tell me how blowed I was. But you also have to remember that last night's stream was rather personal, whether we exhibited that or not. And so, by the 4 or 5 hour mark, I was certainly ready to just kind of let it all go. And thankful that we were able to have the conversation in real time because something that heavy with that much going on could have really could sit with us in a negative way if not dealt with. There's a lot of emotions involved in the decisions that were made in real time. So yeah. Hey Von Bryant, how's your spirit, handsome fella? You gonna stay up and hang out with us for a bit this evening? I know it's late on a Monday. Yet, JP does micro days, so late and early are relative over around these here parts. Um anyway, I said all that to say what I said. And I'm not sure what's going on or who it is, and don't really care what's going to happen upstairs. But I will go ahead and find your next song, uh, Ball of Confusion. My bad. Like I said, some folks just need attention. I'll give it to you. You just got to come over here and put it on theme song. Oh, such a nuisance. Such a nuisance. The Hunter. Wow, that's a long title right there, Von Bryant. Is that like the whole chorus? My goodness, that's a title. Here we go. Fair use, spiritual healing. Guys, in the meantime, we're gonna put some of, like I said, the space cake on there. Okay. It does have this kind of cakey, yummy quality to it. I don't know. I'll do better about explaining that as we go on, you guys.
Because of the
I
color
promise.
of the skin. Run, but you sure can't
Patrice
hide.
said I might as well play Mary
And
Jane.
boy,
At some
a
point,
tooth for a
it
tooth,
at least plays
over
in
for
my
me,
head when
and
I go to
I'll
light
set
this
you
bolo.
free.
So
Rap
yeah, you can be
on,
right.
brother, rap on.
Hey,
Well, the only person talking about love and brother is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher. Segregation, determination, demonstration, integration,
hey.
aggravation, humiliation, obligation to my nation. That's what the world is today. Hey. The sale of pills are at an all-time high. Your folks
Excuse
walking
me.
around with their heads in the sky. Cities aflame in the
Hey,
summertime. Oh, the beat goes on.
hey.
Evolution, revolution, gun control the sound of soul. Shooting rockets to the moon, kids growing up too soon. Politicians say more taxes will solve everything. And the band played on.
Hey,
Every day things change and the
look at them dresses, y'all.
world
Hold
puts
on.
on a
Look at
new
them dresses,
face.
baby. Them gams was
Certain
gamming, wasn't
things
they?
rearrange
Look at it.
and
Hey.
this old
Y'all
world
was talking about
seems
all them wigs and
like
weaves
a
today. Look at that.
new
Isn't this supposed to
place.
be the epitome of
Oh
femininity?
yeah, secretly I've been
Back in the
trailing
day?
you
Come on now,
like
y'all.
a fox that preys on a
Oh
rabbit.
yeah.
I had to get
Everything
you,
was
and so
always
I
perfect.
knew I had to learn your ways and habits. Ooh,
Now, I will say this. I bet you no one. I'm not sure that anyone predicted the Marvelettes turning into like Vanity Six, but I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, y'all let me know in the chat. It just don't seem like that's what everybody was planning when this whole thing came around. Hey,
Come here, baby. Mary, I love you. Do it, baby. I'm in love with Mary Jane.
save the chicken for
She's my
dinner. I'll be right
main
back.
thing. She makes me feel alright. She makes my heart sing. And when I'm feeling low, she comes as no surprise. Turns me on with her love. Takes me to paradise. Do you love me, Mary Jane? Yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Now do you think you love me, Mary Jane? Don't you play no games, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love her just the same. I love her, baby, baby, just the same. The woman plays no game, now, now, now. I'm in love with Mary Jane.
Hey, hey,
I'm
hey,
not
we're
the
trying. Don't
only
hate.
one.
Wait,
Mary wanna play around. I'll let her have
don't
a
hate.
fun.
Why
She's
you all
not
up?
the kind
You
of
know what?
girl that
Ain't nobody ain't. Oh, let me just go ahead and play this. I feel like you ever want to be like, I think you might have watched too many of my videos. I'm just kidding. Oh, okay, Rashawn. I was like, hey, I'm supposed to be hitting the bowl, and here I am. I had to turn the chicken off for dinner. I gotta plug up the charger in a minute too. Anyway, I had to turn the chicken off for dinner. We're gonna have chicken and dressing, and I was poaching the chicken in garlic, ginger, celery, herbs, spices. Hey, that's me. The reason why. Oh, I love you so. I don't want you to go. You're the girl, makes me feel so good. Hey, you brighten up my day. It's impossible for me to stay away. Hazy, got going around. Want you to know how much I love you so. Lately, hazy, my bad. All right, I got my act right together now. You're the girl who makes me feel so good. Nothing but a cutie pie. I got you, Ivana. Cutie pie, you really keep me up till I got you, Von Bryant. Hey, man, I'm gonna tell y'all a story real quick. All right, y'all ready for some story time with JP? And then we'll get back into it. I need to smoke, so let me do this real quick. La, da, da. So when I was about 11, we lived in North Carolina for what would be the first time in my life. And my father had this really cool friend that we called T, or we knew him to be by the name T. Anyway, T called me cutie pie. And so the song is a reference to that for me. What I love about my relationship with Daniel is he helps to make that a positive through line from then to my life now. And the story is actually that my mother, um, when we lived in North Carolina at that time, we had this car named Fred. My mother said if you didn't name your car, you would lose it. But anyway, she named the car Fred, and we were in North Carolina. She was teaching my aunt to drive, and they got into a car accident, and they hit this pole. Let me take this graphic down. Sorry, guys. And they hit that, like the big pole, the pole that holds up the big 7-Eleven sign at the top above that stands above everything. They hit one of those, and both survived, thankfully. Yet sustained some um, serious injuries. My mother broke her arm and I believe her leg or something like that. My aunt's nose. Yet the thing about it, and the reason why I brought it to bring it all home, is that the gentleman T was the one who called the house to tell us what had happened, and I answered the phone. And this was a man who was always just really like playful and jokey and giggly with me. And so sure as shucks, he calls and he's like, little girl, your mama, a cutie pie, your mama and your auntie been in a car accident. Y'all need to come on, get yourselves together. And I'm like, whatever, T. I don't know. Now, I'm 11 years old, and this man don't never call our house and talk to us or nothing, but it just didn't make sense to me at the time. And so, yeah, come to find out that they had been in a car accident and they got separated because my aunt, because my mother was a military dependent, my father's wife, but my aunt was not a full dependent. She had some benefits, but not all benefits because she wasn't adopted. She was, taken in as part of the family. And so it's just one of those things that that song will always bring that memory back to me. Um, it brings me back to the whole senses and feelings conversation. I'm not sure that I feel anything particular when referencing that moment in time. Just I remember it all, and I remember it all because of that song. So in that way, theme songs hold a dual meaning for me, and sometimes we can come together and have conversations over it. So anyway, just wanted to share that, and then we are going to get back to it. Yeah, my life's been a bit different. So, anywho's okay, Fairy Tales by Anita Baker. Thank you, babe, for the theme song. We must be busy because it took a minute. Guys, can you hear that? And if you can, is it a problem? I don't see it showing up on my thing, so that's fine.
Great protection at great low rates you want? Yep. Click for a great auto rate today.
Same aunt who used to sing Anita Baker. She had a fantastic voice. I'm sure she still does. I don't know how often she sings though. That's funny.
I can remember stories, those things my mother said. She told me fairy tales before I went to bed. She spoke of happy endings, then tucked me in real tight. She
Alright, I'm finally gonna
light on and kiss my face goodnight. My mind was filled with visions of perfect paradise.
Remember JP, you put the whatchamacallit on there. You can hear it, Ivana? Okay.
He'd ride up on his horse and take me away one night. I'd be so happy with him. We ride one out of sight. She never said that we would curse, cry, and scream and lie. She never said that maybe someday he'd say goodbye.
I got it.
the evil prince. She said you'd come to save me. Swam through the stormy seas. I'd understand the story. It would be good for me. You never came to save me. You let me stand alone out in the wilderness, alone in the cold. My story ends, my story's through. Reality steps into view. No longer living life in paradise.
Hey, uh-oh. All right. We got one more theme song, and then we're gonna get into the video so I can focus and take a pause to the pause, and then we'll be back.
I'll be good. I'll be good.
Almost forgot about the doggone concentrate out here. Burn my lungs up. Okay.
Flash we meet, passing
Hey.
in the streets. Words unspoken, silence unbroken. Hey, just by chance, we fell into romance. Cry of success, left no room to guess. Oh no, love is not the stone and score. We've been twice around the block before. Know the changes that put you through, babe. My promise is to you, I'll be good.
I remember this, listening to this riding through the park in Memphis
I'll be good.
as a little girl.
Better than before.
That was one of the things that I loved, like riding down the area of Memphis, man.
So
It
much
is
emotion, so much devotion.
anyway.
When we talk, we never found
Okay, one more. Yes,
Your
we are.
telephone line is typed right to my heart.
Fair use, y'all.
Your love is
Yes,
knocking
we
me
are
down and
scoring. What am I looking for? My bad, my bad, my bad.
You may
I was
hide
doing
and
so good with
close
the
your door.
clothes. There we go. I'm sorry, Gregory
I
Abbott. Lord
swear
have
it's
mercy.
true.
What you gonna do?
I'll be good to you. Be good.
Do you think any of us will look back on
No,
our
I
lives
don't
and
think
regret the
any of
things
us
we
feel
didn't
any of
buy?
those things right now. Sorry, guys. Oh, all right, babe. Boogie Wonderland. Okay, Boogie Wonderland is the last one because I do have to take a pause for the cause. Boy, look at that light skin love right there. Look at it. Look at it. Go ahead. They glowed you up, didn't they?
I've been watching you
Ooh, look at them waves. Hold on now.
from
Check
so
it out now.
far across the floor now.
God, you know you want to run your fingers through the curls.
That's nothing new.
My
I've
bad. Let
watched
me get
you
my act
so
right.
many times before now, baby.
Hey.
I see that look in your eyes, and what
Girls
it's
do love
telling
curls.
me, and you know,
And hey, chicks dig
ooh,
dudes with
girl,
stars.
I'm not
Just
shy.
saying.
I'm glad you picked up on my telepathy now, baby. You know you did. Well,
You said
I'm
that's
gonna
he's
love
pretty
you.
though. I'm not being mean or nothing. I'm just saying though,
Oh,
if I had a
baby.
light skinned dream, he might be in the league in the running. My
I've been
my preference
missing
is towards
you,
Otis Redding. I'm just, you know, it's, we all
and
gotta
the
think.
way you make me feel inside. What can I do?
Oh,
I
God.
can tell you got your pride now, baby. Come to me, well,
yes I do. Now give me just a little time.
Not tonight. My voice can't do it.
Girl, I wanna shake you down. I wanna rock you down.
Alright.
I'm gonna love you. Come on, let me take you down. Well, we'll go.
Here we go. Shout out to whichever older lady it was who told me that younger folks don't know good music. I mean, to be fair, y'all do get a cheat code on these songs, though, love, you know, because of all of the movies and whatnot. Anyway. Alright, you guys, so we're going to get into this discussion. I think we don't understand blue bloods, blue vein society. I'm gonna have to do that when I come back. So I gotta take a pause for the cause, and so we're gonna start this video. But I promise I got you, Ivana. Let me highlight it now before I forget, so that we can do it on the other side. Excuse me. So I'm going to share this tab. Asa. I am having. You want me to go ask him what his theme song is? Is that disrespectful? That's too much. Alright, JP, get your act right. I hear you, y'all. I hear you. I'm gonna chill myself right on out. Here we go. What am I thinking?
Conversation about blacks in the United States of America. Chances are that you have heard of the brown paper bag test or the paper bag test. Briefly, in case you haven't heard of it, the brown paper bag test is an early 1900s discriminatory practice that blacks used against other blacks, in which an individual's skin tone is compared to the color of a brown paper bag. One was set to pass the test by having a skin tone that matched the hue of the paper bag or was lighter than the paper bag. What did passing the test mean? Access to privileges. Those privileges could be anything from gaining membership to sororities, fraternities, and other social clubs, or gaining admission to schools and even churches. Definitely not an example of black people at our finest hour. But today, I want to discuss the black and partially black people who opened the door that allowed the paper bag test to become a reality. The lighter black Americans who used the brown paper bag test as a tactic to distance themselves from darker black Americans actually had a predecessor group of light-complexioned blacks, biracials, mulattoes, quadroons, and octoroons who prided themselves on their proximity to whiteness and saw dark-complexioned blacks as inferior. The pre-brown paperback testing group was called the Blue Vein Society. As their name suggests, they delighted in having skin that was so white that their blue veins could be seen through it. And they wanted absolutely nothing to do with other blacks whose veins were concealed by their dark skin. And they went out of their ways to make their disdain for those dark-skinned blacks to be made public. Let's get into it. But first, if you like these videos about the most scandalous times from yesteryear that make the Ty Said What Ty Said channel a time capsule for the culture, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know every time that I upload one of these videos or every time that I live stream. And comment "I subscribed" in the comments section so that I can say hello to you. Now, on to why you are here. So, what exactly was the Blue Vein Society? The Blue Vein Society was a loosely organized organization that aimed to identify who was white enough to be considered the upper echelon of blacks. If your skin was so dark that you couldn't see blue veins through it, you were not considered for membership. Their hierarchy held white people at the top, in first place. In a very close second place were the members of the Blue Vein Society themselves, light-skinned black people and people who, because of the one-drop rule at that time, were considered black. People who would have been classified as biracials, mulattoes, quadroons, and octoroons. And then finally, at a very distant third place, were dark-skinned blacks, who the members of the Blue Vein Society felt were inferior in every way. For the sake of context, it is very important to add that the earliest mention that I can find of a Blue Vein Society is in a newspaper article from 1873. That means that less than 10 years after slavery was abolished in the United States, black people, and people who were considered black, immediately started discriminating against dark-skinned black people. The highest priority items were not...
You said 10 years. It took less than a generation, a decade, for the otherism to kick in. But we don't need to know history. Okay.
establishing freedom or equality for themselves, or establishing some way to gain access to money or land or laws that will protect them. No, simply establishing that we blue veins are better than you darkies was enough. Their top priority was lightness and proximity to whiteness. The irony is that while Blue Vein Society members were busy distancing themselves from dark-skinned blacks in the hopes to attain adjacency to their pure white counterparts, the white people of that era were shooing them off, wanting nothing to do with dark-skinned or light-skinned blacks.
Hey guys, Amanda Rose here from Phoenix, Arizona.
Being equally amused and offended at the notion that light-skinned blacks dare compare themselves to white people. But for the most part, the blacks of that time fully bought into what members of the Blue Vein Society believed. In a nutshell, the lighter, the better. So here the nation was, literally just a few years after the Emancipation Proclamation. White communities were trying to keep black people, both light and dark, away from them, and lighter black people tried to keep darker black people away from them. Light skin was a privilege that they wanted to keep, and they were ruthless and intentional in their efforts to establish their hierarchy, whether it was in their homes, at work, at school, and yes, even at church. The Blue Vein Society was relentless. Here are a few specific examples from newspapers from 1911, 1893,
So I just wanted to respond to Rashawn really quickly. Yes, excuse me, Rashawn. It was during slavery. There was, you know, if you had this amount of, the master's blood in you or whatever, you were seen in a different light or treated, or you behaved in a different manner. The two things can be true. Yet she was more discussing post-slavery, and it's just the emphasis that it only took 10 years. That let's just say that we were all on the same footing and willing to say we were equals. It only took 10 years for the colorism idea to kick in. Something to make me better than you so I don't have to work as hard as you do to get ahead. Anyway.
and 1896. I will just read all of the stories and sprinkle in a little commentary. Let's start with to be the least harmful that was published in the Arizona Republican on December 20th, 1893. It was printed in the local
Patrice, what
briefs
the hell is it
that
with this
day,
state?
and
Anyway.
it simply reads, "A Blue Vein Society is being organized by the colored people of Phoenix. Frank Shirley of the Fashion Barber Shop is at the head of the movement, and all the barbers in his employ, except Messrs. Thomas and Polk, will be admitted. All who have white blood are eligible to membership." Nothing much to see here except for that the barbers who were too dark are called out by name in the newspaper. Super tacky. The next story is a bit more harmful and involves Blue Vein Society members denying dark-skinned adults employment as teachers and dark-skinned children access to education. It's from an 1896 edition of the Chicago Tribune, and it reads, "Blue Vein in contempt. Negroes at Washington participate in a race war. Octoroons and other of light color are accused of receiving favors at schools. Factional strife results in a clamor from the full-blooded Ethiopians, who resent the snubs. Their brethren accuse them of dullness." And by dullness, this writer is referring to dim-wittedness or brainlessness. And I think it very odd that the writer refers to them as full-blooded Ethiopians. Let me know your thoughts about that. Anyway, back to the article. Washington, D.C., May 1st. A peculiar race war is going on here in Washington, which has broken out with unusual virulence. It is nothing more or less than a fight between two factions of colored people representing the pure blacks and those of lighter skins. The very dark Negroes have begun holding a series of meetings in which they say that those of their race with a large portion of Caucasian blood in their veins are securing all the benefits of the colored schools of the district. The fight has arrived at the stage where the two parties are making serious charges against each other.
But colorism doesn't affect our children and the school system, right? Or higher education, higher learning, right? We've got to start to be real and we have to understand our history. And we're framing this understood, talking, you know, post slavery, yes. 10 years out, we started this behavior. It continues today. It continues to be folks who look like us, or kind of us, disrespecting us so that it's just a bit easier for them. But we're wrong if we say something about it. We're wrong if we point it out. She mentioned the full-blooded Ethiopians because the full-blooded Ethiopians weren't, I don't know, those poor downtrodden slaves entitled to certain benefits, as she stated, in the school system. Let's be real about it. Let's talk about it. I don't expect the indoctrinated ones to show up here. So I'm asking you all to make sure that you share this video and others with them. Help them along on the journey. Start further back. A couple of the playlists. Homeschool Healing is a really good one. It's an opportunity for people to check in with themselves before you start on this journey of understanding who you are. You gotta do better. You gotta start having a conversation about it. But we'll get back into the video. And with the video, we got it's like another 11 minutes, a little less. I'll drop the link shortly.
Men of lighter complexions, like ex-Senator B.K. Bruce, are being charged freely by their black-skinned brethren with misappropriating the funds intended for the use of the colored schools, and also with partiality in the selection of teachers. The pure blacks say that they are not given the slightest show, and that whenever one of their color comes up for examination for the normal school, he invariably is shut out by someone of the favorites whose skin more nearly approaches that of the white people. It so happens that here in Washington that there is a very large contingent of the mixed race. They naturally were the first ones to come north, and the process of amalgamation with the Caucasian is still going on. The light-skinned Negroes say they have secured the greater proportion of teachers and have absorbed control of the schools simply because of the superior energy due to the admixture of white blood. They deny that there has been any favoritism and say that the light-skinned boys and girls learn much more rapidly than those of pure Negro blood, and hence they stand better in the examinations and are accordingly selected as teachers.
Do you guys see this app right here? It's called Audible. There's actually a better way to make money on Amazon other than selling physical products. And actually, it's using Audible. If you don't know what Audible...
The fight between the two factions had become exceedingly bitter, and at a meeting of the pure blacks, they denounced their fellows and declared it to be their deliberate judgment that the administration of the schools, which is in the hands of the light-skinned colored people, should be inquired into by a committee of Congress. This war of the pure Negro against the mixed race has been on the point of breaking out openly for a long time, but only now has it come to the surface directly. In Washington, there are many so-called colored people who are recognized as Negroes by their fellows, but who would easily pass, and do pass in a crowd, for white people, as they have at best an eighth or a 16th or even a 32nd of black blood. Now this is my commentary here. At a 32nd of black blood, is it not odd to you that they don't just call these people white? That is literally 3.125% black. Anyway, back to the article. According to the old slavery rule, they are recognized still as Negroes, and they generally attend the colored schools and churches. But nonetheless, they are inclined at times to snub their coal-black brethren, and the result has been the latter are casting about for some way in which to bar out the white Negroes from the schools intended for colored people. First, I just have to say that this writer has a way with words when describing dark-skinned black people and even white black people.
White Negroes was a new one for me. She's got another video, I think, where it literally says something like killed by a white Negro. And I was just like, I don't even have the energy today to watch it. So it's on my watch later list, which, by the way, guys, the playlist is already public. Thank you to all of the content creators on there. I don't believe that we're going to be getting to all of those videos tonight. Yet I do appreciate you for providing the content for us to have the conversation. So yeah, we're gonna get back into it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link. We got about 8 minutes left, guys. Sorry.
Anyway, what I'm picking up here is that the darker teachers who were applying for positions were denied. The Blue Vein Society members claimed that it was because the lighter blacks were simply always smarter and always better qualified than the darker blacks. Do you buy it? And light-skinned boys and girls are simply faster learners than dark-skinned boys and girls. So quite naturally, according to Blue Vein Society logic, because the lighter black children learn faster, they will be the ones to occupy those coveted spots as students in those classrooms. Then, as adults, it only stands to reason that they will also be the only ones qualified to teach. So how could the cycle end? The point was that it wouldn't. And this perfectly illustrates how colorism becomes a system, not just individual incidents of, I don't like him because he's dark. And the final Blue Vein Society incident for this video comes from a 1911 issue of the Shreveport Journal. It reads, Blue Vein Society has peculiar sort of fun at expense of Negro Porter. Using stationery adorned with the crude drawing of a coffin, the Shreveport Blue Vein Society has undertaken to scare the daylights out of Addie Hall, a Negro porter employed for several years at the Meyer drugstore. Hall recently received a letter from the society, which is evidently composed of "Yaller niggers," reading as follows. And obviously that is a phrase that the writer came up with. That is not my own commentary. Back to the letter. The letter reads, Shreveport, Louisiana, February 23rd, 1911. Mr. Addie Hall, Shreveport, Louisiana. Dear Sir, we recognize you as a man, but we remember you are a black man. By foul flattery, you have seduced and married a daughter of the quadroon and octoroon race. We are content with our own kind, but you, a black man, not content with your own Owski women, must come and take advantage of the chance yet allowed you of taking and pulling down one of ours. However, this will not be possible in a few years. Yet, what you have done is done, and now you must pay the penalty. Leave Shreveport at once, or prepare to die soon. Beware. Shreveport Blue Vein Society, members 7 times 7 plus 1 plus 13. That is their letter. Back to the article. The matter was taken up with the sheriff's office, and at the direction of the sheriff, Hall will ask the post office authorities to investigate. In the meantime, Hall is going right along with his work at the drugstore and isn't losing any sleep over the threatened trouble that the yellow...
One, I agree with you in the idea that people continue to talk about colorism, yet saying that talking about it makes it continue on is disingenuous. It's like saying that gun violence, that violence exists because guns exist, or all the problems in the world have to do with black people, guns, and music. Just come on. It's not understanding history. It's not knowing who you are. It's needing to have these conversations in an honest way, not in a way to push off blame, excuse me, or understanding, awareness, acceptance, reality of what it is that has long since been conversations that we need to have.
Joke or no joke, the letter went through the Shreveport post office, and the chances are that if Uncle Sam learns the identity of the society members, some of them will be wearing stripes. That is the end of that article. So, death threats. That's it. I don't think that this story requires any further commentary. I did look further to find out if a follow-up story was ever printed revealing the identities of these Blue Vein Society members, but it seems that this particular story was a one and done in Shreveport, Louisiana. Of these 3 news stories, Which one was the most shocking to you and why? Let me know in the comments section. These stories are just a few of many stories in which blacks, or people who were considered to be legally black, displayed racist actions towards other blacks for simply being dark-skinned. Again, these blue vein societies started popping up all over the nation just as slavery ended. Chattel slavery, a time when all shades of black people were seen as inferior. As soon as it ended, the first order of business was to make sure that darker blacks know that they were inferior. The notion seems sickening. And before someone leaves the comment, well, we all learned it from our masters during slavery, because when discussions about colorism arise, that comment is invariably in the mix, I have to disclose the uncomfortable fact that colorism existed among blacks before any black people ever had known what a slave master was. Perhaps that is a video that I can make for another time. Until then, do you see any remnants of the Blue Vein Society that exist in one form or another today? Let me know in the comments section. I'd love to see your answer. The Cotton Club became the spot for black people who wanted to be entertainers as Blue Vein Societies were coming to an end and the brown paperback test was in full swing. The Cotton Club hired its chorus girls by using the brown paperback test and referred to them as tall, tan, and terrific. Cab Calloway fought against this policy when he was hired as a band leader at the Cotton Club. I published a video about that story that you can see here. I will also leave a link to the video in the description box.
I felt some type of way when I saw that ending right there. I was like, man, listen now, I like them both, you know. I'm in my feelings. I'm gonna watch the video. I'm in my feelings. It's not in the Renaissance collection yet because I may use it for a different discussion. But shout out to the content creator again. Let me get her name right for you all. Pitch change. That hurt a bit. Give me just a second, guys. I'll read the comments. And shout out to Juana Washington. Thank you for stopping in and joining the conversation. And the intellectual soapbox. I hope that things are going well for you. Haven't been able to check in much lately. Got a lot going on, but I appreciate you for stopping through and leaving a comment. Excuse me. It's a hot, messy history with Ty said, what Ty said, what Ty said. I'm sorry, y'all. I have to look at it every time because I want to say T, but it's Ty. Excuse me. There's a lot of icky, forgive me. Juana said, no, I think it's about being aware and accepting that you're participating in the system that created the issue every time you call anyone black or white, be American. Patrice says, my granddaughter is just 16 years old. She has never experienced a complaint about colorism. She didn't even know about it until we explained it to her. And then Juana says, I like the last point the speaker made. So-called blacks were discriminating against each other long before the white man ever put anyone in bondage. Well, yes, we understand that you, never mind, JP. Uh, Even this content creator isn't saying that we shouldn't understand this issue for what this issue is. She made point of the fact that it was educators, right? The school system that they were taking and using the benefits of, thus leaving behind a certain sector of the black community. That educational system still exists today. So-called Americans need to pull out of that educational system until it does right by so-called Americans and homeschool their children. Hey, Mr. Best in the World, how's your spirit? Hold on, let me get this over there. There you
Hey, Auntie, I'm glad to come home. You know what I'm saying? I had to come
go.
home for a second. You know what I mean? I had to come home. I had to come home. What's going on?
Not much. Just having a conversation about blue vein folks, colorism, and an understanding of how it has impacted us throughout the generations, throughout the educational system specifically.
hmm I think that I think that I think that with us, I think from even before Jim Crow, I think the Willie Lynch letter and just all those things that they were putting to make us go against each other and to separate us, whether it was lighter skin, darker skin, bigger Negro, smaller Negro. You know what I mean? Like it's just always been something to kind of make us not come together because that's the one fear that the oppressor and the colonizer has. That's their one fear that we will finally come together and we will say, no, we're not doing this no more. You know what I'm saying? We're not doing this no more. We are going to unite. We're going to be one, and that's what it's going to be. That's always been their one fear. So now, and then once they label us, now they start to, they label us. They take away our true origin, our true way of belief, our true customs. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. You know, and when we try to revert back to our true customs, we're demonized, right? You know, when we told, okay, I don't. Hey, Chief Patrice.
Patrice,
You know what I'm saying? When we
go ahead,
told,
nephew.
when because our custom was we wasn't really wearing a bunch of clothes. Some of us, we may have had like a fig leaf or, probably some war paint on us, and we was moving and grooving. You know what I'm saying? We're people of the sun. We was chilling. You know what I mean? So all these clothes and all these different textures and things of that nature and perfumes and smells and all that's not of our origin. That's from their origin. And we've adopted their origin. We adopted their clothing. We've adopted their religion. We've adopted everything that they've given us. And now, we made it ours. And of course, with us, we're creative, so we kind of, we match and we put our clothes together a certain way. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And we got the hat cocked to the side, and you know what I mean? Like we put
Mm.
our own flavor on it, but still, that's not our true us. You know what I'm saying? That's not completely our true us. And I think that they always try to push us away from our true identity. You know what I mean? And when we try to get close to our true identity, they always find a way to, make it seem like we're crazy or we're evil, you know, or, something's wrong with us. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I appreciate that. Go ahead. How's your spirit, Patrice? Thank you for joining. I know you were a little icky earlier. I hope it's improved since then. Are you there? Uh-oh. All right. You may have to come back. I want to answer one of Washington's question here, which is why not have a combo about how so-called black people started it all? Because
Mhm.
I'm not looking to divide anyone. I'm looking to have the understanding of how it's affected the educational system and how we can move forward from there. My personal belief is that we pull out of the system until such time as either the system has changed enough that we can be in it and have equitable outcomes based on the effort that we put in, or let's go ahead and B12A homestead our asses right the fuck up out the whole damn thing. So I'm willing to have the conversation around that. Anyone else is welcome to have another conversation elsewhere.
So, do you feel like, how do you mute yourself? Oh, you hit the microphone. It's a microphone that you press, OG Patrice.
Yeah, sorry,
And
Patrice, I haven't come up through this. He said you had to hit the microphone, Patrice. I haven't come up through the microphone in that way.
Yeah, I think.
Simon, that's a good question as to whether or not people understand the educational system. Let's try this one more time, Patrice.
Can you guys hear me now?
Hey, girl, there you
Yeah.
be. What's going
Jesus,
on, child?
it was way down at the bottom of my phone, guys. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
How you guys doing?
Doing great, OG. Good to
Good,
see you.
good.
Good, good, good. I'm a little tired. That's why my soul is a little solemn and weary because that long trip. You know, I was at the Las Vegas Black Film Festival over the weekend, so that's where I was
Yeah.
the last 3 or 4 days. But yeah, I'm just
Did
tired.
y'all have a
So
good time?
Mm.
we did just a lot of driving. You know, it was a fire in Arizona. Did you hear about it, JP? You know, we had a fire. So when I was trying to cross over from Arizona into Nevada, it
Hmm.
it, it was traffic for miles and miles and was hours. I had to go all the way around, go through
Oh yes.
California. It was just a mess.
Yeah, I
So
had
yeah,
you could see it from over here. I had a video on Instagram. You could see it from the mountains. Just off the mountains on the other side there. So, peace, Simon. Thank you for joining the conversation. But yeah, it's I apologize, y'all. That's why I keep trying to mute myself with the noise in the background, but it's been a long time since I've been able to sit outside and enjoy it. So
I
anyway,
know, but I wanted to comment because come up on a panel and say something because I was really surprised, and this just happened like 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. My granddaughter is getting ready to graduate. She's graduating, a little ahead of time to go into college, and she's trying to get into this very popular sorority, or at least the one she wanted to get into, she wasn't able to get into because they literally pretty much told her that based off of her complexion, she would be a better fit for another sorority. And they named this sorority. And so, I tell the story that me and my best friend shares granddaughters, right? Like her daughter married my son. So we share granddaughters. So I'm saying to my best friend, I'm like, so why y'all even bother with these goddamn sororities if this is what they doing? Like are we this is what they doing in 2022? And I asked to speak to my granddaughter, and my granddaughter, mind you, is not dark skinned. She's not considered fair, like, because she's not biracial or anything like that, but she's got a nice little caramel complexion to her. And I asked her literally, I said, did they really say to you that you would be a better fit based off of your complexion? She said, yes, Nana, that's what they said to me. I said, well, baby girl, why would you even want to be bothered with sororities, that see black girls or girls of color in light like that? Anyone, any girl, anyone for that matter, in a light like that. Like, why would you? But they're young and it's all about acceptance. It's all about, what they want to do. And I said, I tell you what, you be involved in that sorority stuff. I said, I won't spend a dime of my money on that crap. I will help you with graduation. I will help you with anything else you need. But when it comes to anything regarding the sorority stuff, don't ask me for a dime because I'm not spending a dime on no sorority stuff. And I mean that because I was just really outdone. And I know the one that she's going to now, but they wouldn't tell me the one that she wanted to go to because I was going to write them. I absolutely was going to write them, JP.
all right, now sit down, Granny. Let her handle it in the way that she feels is best. This is a young lady coming into her own. Although I do fully understand what it is that you're saying. Yet I would say I had a similar experience when I was going to college. Yet I knew kind of outright that I wasn't going to join a fraternal organization because I had spent time in Germany with the Masons over there, and they're a bit different. So that was enough for me. I want to. Simon asked, do people understand the education system? And then Juana's response was, our education system taught that we are black and they are white and we fell forward. Yes, I understand the education system very well. She responded to you, Patrice, by saying, why would anyone want to be a part of anything that focuses on skin color? And then Simon's response was, thanks, Juana, but that's not what I mean. Ships are not built for everyone, but yet if it's going to a destination you have never been to, you may still pay and get on board and mix in ignorance. Um, Put, I believe, a different way. Um, our education system. Let's talk about it. Our education system teaches that they're the victors, and that to the victor goes the spoils. Also, they get to write the narrative, right? So they wrote that they won and this was who and what we are. I get what you're saying there, Juana, and yet we can understand by looking at our lived experiences in, say, the last 100 years, that those things still exist and are true and present. So being purposefully contrarian does not negate the idea that these things exist. Understanding that that's how they teach things. Let's go ahead and accept what they've already taught and then go and seek what it is that they did not want us to know or understand. When we have those two things, then we can begin to merge both and come up with an understanding of who and what we really are and our power. So I get you. Yet we need to understand that if education was how they began to separate us more and more, then we need to figure out what it was about education. One of those things was colorism. Does it still exist today? Do teachers today understand that that was a problem? I don't believe that this is something that they're giving as part of the teachers union welcome packet. It wasn't a part of any of my educational instruction. That's why we're having the conversation. If anyone would like to respond, please go ahead.
Well, I know that, like you said, even from that article, we're not that far removed from it. I'm definitely not that far removed from it. I experienced it in high school. I experienced colorism being a dark skinned girl in high school. I experienced it in the entertainment industry. And a lot of it does still go on today. When you have rappers that perpetuate it a lot by saying they only date light skinned girls, they only like mulatto girls, they only like mixed girls. Like I've heard several rappers. Chris Brown has been one singer that has been very, very colorist. Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, it's a few of them, right? That's allegedly colorist, and have been known to say this, in interviews or on the Instagram when they're talking to their fans. So it's still problematic right to this day. And I think to say that, it's being perpetuated by the people that's complaining about it is not true, because my granddaughter didn't complain about it. She didn't even know about colorism. I didn't even have to sit down and explain it to her until it happened to her. And that's most of the time when it does happen, is when it happened to you, then there's an issue with it, right? Because I never told my granddaughters that I experienced colorism when I was in high school. I just never had the conversation with them, because I was hoping that, each day, each year, each decade, as we grow as a nation, supposedly that, these things are not being perpetuated in the education system the way they
Yeah,
were
let
when
me
I or you were coming up. But
let me just
unfortunately,
stop you
that
for a
is the
second
case.
and let me just thank you. Let me just stop you for a second and say that that's the reason why this space exists. Because there are things that we don't know we should have taught sooner until we find, until someone says, hey, this incident happened. And then you can go back and say, you know what? I talked about this conversation over here, over there with JP. Let me go and have this conversation with my youngers and make sure that they understand the difference so that they don't participate in colorism or when they have the conversations, they're whatever it is, it's not disingenuous about it. There's reasons for having these conversations and trying to pull them apart for the sake of not having to be a part of the downtrodden. Miss me with that. Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, JP, but I think that, like I told her other grandmother, I said that when we don't speak up and when we don't write in, these are the things that are allowed to continue to perpetuate within the education system and any other system that is racist or colorist, right? And we know that the background, like, I don't care for the sororities, not just for just what they have represented over the last 100 years anyway. And then it got real big with the hazing situation, and people were losing their lives, trying to be accepted into a sorority. So I had a problem with that like years ago, and just
Mm.
always feel like, especially us, our people, we always feel like we have to be accepted by something in order to be important, right? So that's where the whole sorority, fraternity, and all of that comes into play. And to each his own, but it has become very problematic. And then there's a history with the sororities, and history of the sororities is on YouTube. All you got to do is really do your research on where sororities really came from and what's the history of it. And even some people are giving their testimonies on their experience with why they left sororities and fraternities. And it's because of things like that, the hazing situations, as well as the colorism and all of the other problematic things that they were asked to do that was not within their scope of reasoning, their values and their morals and their integrity. It didn't sit well with them, so they walked away. And some were taunted, some were, harassed and things of that nature. So sororities have been, for certain people, if it works for them, that's fine. But for the most part, if you really do your history and your research on sororities, you will really see where they come from and the problematic history they've had against people of color for centuries.
Yeah, I think that I've always been against them because it's a place where they have separatism, and I'm against that at all costs because we as a people we're already separated to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So we don't need nothing else to separate us. You know what I mean? And I think that I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
like you said, OG Patrice, to each their own. But I'm not with it. I'm not with it at all. They can save that. They can keep all that. I don't even know what the hell none of that stuff stand for anyway. You know what I'm saying? Don't like I don't like that sound like something that all the symbols and all that. That don't sound like none of
Hmm.
our language. You know what I'm saying? Like who language
Exactly.
is
That's
that?
I'ma just say YouTube has some history on how sororities and fraternities got started. And if you really
Mm,
do dig deep, it's an interesting. It's an
mm,
interesting concept of where it comes from and how it's been perpetuated and how we've always wanted to indoctrinate ourselves in a lot of things that was never
mm-hmm,
our culture, right? Like we've
mm-hmm,
always wanted to indoctrinate ourselves, put ourselves in situations that had nothing to do with our culture, and it comes from not knowing a lot about our own history and where we come from, so we allow ourselves to accept somebody else's history or culture or religion or whatever else, right? And that's the problem with our people. When I say our
mm-hmm.
people, I mean in us, it's because we are so lost and don't know so much about ourselves, our history, and things of that nature. We have to put ourselves and want to be accepted so much into the Caucasian society of things, and it's really really sad because we lose ourselves in that. I do agree with Juana when she say we definitely fell for the whole black thing. We fell for that hook, line, and sinker because we not black as a color, black as a social construct, that we are not that, right? When you look at it as a whole.
So if you don't know your lineage, if you don't know your ancestry and your lineage and the very village and things of that nature that I talk about all the time, where you come from, then you don't know what you don't know. But we have an opportunity to absolutely find that out, and it's not very very hard to do. Black people just lazy and don't want to do it for the most part, so they just say we black,
Mhm.
and I accept being black because the
Mhm.
white man called me black, so I'm black, just
Mhm.
like we call them white, but they ain't white and we ain't black. You know what I mean? Because it's a color and it's a social construct that we have been labeled and allowed to been given that and perpetuated even amongst our own selves to our own detriment, I might add. Black
Mhm.
people have the need of always wanting to belong to something, to feel important. And that is the problem with us, is because we don't know ourselves. We don't know so much about us. And but it's our own fault because we don't research. We don't try to find the things out for the most part. A lot of us
Mhm.
don't even care to know. They'll say, well,
Uh-oh.
my answer, they gone, they dead, and I ain't got. Why wouldn't you want to know? But you accept
Mhm.
what the white man tell you you are with no problem.
Mhm.
Welcome to the panel, Queen. How's your spirit?
Hey, Queen.
Hello,
Hey,
I'm
Queen.
good. Hey,
What would you like to add to the conversation, ma'am? Uh-oh.
colorism, huh?
She'll be back.
Fraternization, education, disrespect. Give me just a second. Girl,
Mm.
she just popping in and out and binging, bonging and everything. Lord have
Um,
mercy. Huh?
I think I
Let me
think
pull
it's
her back up here.
it's huh?
No, I'm pulling Patrice back up.
Oh, okay. I think it's a serious
Wanda, that's
problem.
not why you get kicked off panels. You get kicked off
Right?
panels because you very often attempt to tell other people what they should and should not say or do. It's the approach, it's how people come across them when they say those things. I full well understand what it is that you mean, yet two things can be simultaneously true. We need to begin to be able to understand that and have real conversations around the reality that exists today. I want something much grander for the full society. Yet I understand that those who are most often looked down upon are those who look like me and the darkest of us. And those, the darkest of us, who are not from another culture or society or some other continent on which they can lay claim when it becomes necessary. So, what works for us will work for others. That's why folks like Simon and from outside areas look to the Black community to find out what is going on or how they can move better or differently, or to understand what's going on in American culture and society. We are Americans. We understand that. We fight even when this country doesn't care for or about us. You understand that full well, having done so. I would
Um,
appreciate the lack of a little bit less patronizing in having the conversation, and then we can keep moving forward.
mm,
Go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not sorry.
um, I wanted to say that I think the problem is that we tend to um disregard another person's plight or things they've been through because maybe it's something that we haven't been through, and we make it seem like it's not an issue, and that irks the hell out of me. We all know racism exists. We all know colorism exists. We all know sexism exists. We know that they exist. But when we, as Black people, start separating ourselves and saying, oh, that, I ignore things like that because I'm perpetuating the stereotype, or, I'm adding to the issue. It's not that you're adding to the issue, you're ignoring it because maybe it hasn't come across your doorstep, and I think that's the problem that I have. Um, I don't know if I experienced colorism. Actually, I did. My grandmother, um, very fair skin, um, lived in the South, and me and some of my siblings are mixed. Some of them are lighter skin, and some of them are brown, and some are, well, no one's really dark skinned. It's all brown, right? But even in that, we were called the darkies going to my grandmother's house. So all my cousins, they were very fair skinned. And so because my mother is a brownie, we were treated differently as kids by my grandmother. Um, Harsher. Um, uh, yeah. Um, I didn't like going to visit her. I just like going to see my cousins. I hated
Yeah,
going to her house.
yeah. So
And
coming out of Memphis, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's just I
go
understand
ahead.
that my sisters and I
Hmm.
run the colored girl rainbow, so to speak, right? My elder sister being the darkest of us, and I remember one of her papers talking about um, being called she pretty for a little for a dark skinned girl, or she pretty for a little black girl, and how hurtful that was. But there are people who would say that when I tease you and call you, or not you specifically, more the fellas, when I say, I'm sorry, Wanda, that was an accident. Wanda, I'm gonna drop you. Can you, are you there? Okay, I'm gonna drop you back because you don't have an avatar, and if you're on an Apple device, you're gonna have to email the link to yourself or send it to yourself, and go through Google Chrome. Safari, I mean, whatever the Apple thing is, has an issue. Um, but I was saying that to say, like, I tease my younger sister about her little pale toes all the time. But then in the summertime, she become copper tone. It's funny to me, But that's loving in jestful amongst family, or the butterscotch bear. Um, Yet some, I suppose, would say that that's colorism. I guess I'd ask your opinion, um, understanding that you have a similar lived experience.
Who, me?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's different if it's, amongst family, but I think it's the issue is when it's being put down and you're being deemed less than, you know, um, because of, you know, what you look like. Um, but yeah, I don't get how we just think, um, things like this don't exist. I don't, you know, and think it's okay to ignore it just because you're not necessarily going through it, you know. I think
Yeah,
that
Queen, I tell you, like I know it existed, but you know how I hadn't thought about it anymore. It was out of sight, out of mind until I talked to my granddaughter, and I'm like it's 2022, and this shit is it's still as real as it was when I was in high school, and I was in high school in the '80s. Like, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but the
well, I mean,
sorority.
it's
Go ahead.
you know, I I think I have family members who are part of sororities, And, sometimes I wish I would have joined one because of the sisterhood after it. I've seen the sisterhood, the loyalty, the support that comes with it. But I understand when you look at, what was it? School days?
Hmm. But it
You
is
know,
still a system
yeah,
that teaches separatism
yeah,
within a sisterhood and a brotherhood.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah. I think it does. I think it also depends on the school. Um, I have a family member who is, I'm not going to say which one she's a part of, but
Hmm.
when I looked at the women that were in her group and are still like her crew, um, they're all, there's no one shade, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
they're all different. So I think
Hmm.
it's also maybe the school too that they go to, or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I just don't agree with, when you look at, you know um bleaching cream, and where bleaching cream is at is in, it's in Africa. Who is selling bleaching cream to Africans to tell them that, you know
Exactly.
they need
If we
to.
don't still think it's a problem, just look at what's going on over there alone.
Well,
Not
the
let's
problem,
not just only in the
yeah,
United States. It's going
but
on all over.
the problem is that when you realize something is a problem, then you have to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing? A lot of people don't want to do nothing, so they want to ignore it. Just like, I don't know his name, he was some black guy that was like super rich. I don't know if he was a lawyer or what, and he was living in an upscale neighborhood that, nobody looked like him that was in that neighborhood. And he was getting out of his car to go in his front door, and his neighbors called the cops on him. And the cops tried to arrest him, even though he had keys to that place. And then
I saw that video.
he wanted to cry out racism. But he only wanted to cry out for the other black supporters, Negroes, when his behind was on the line. But other than that, he wanted to get away from us. And that's my problem.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot
That's
of
my
us
problem.
are so far removed from it because it hasn't happened to them, so they don't think that it's not a real thing. And then, like you said, it's like when it happens to them, then it's like, oh yeah, and it happened to me. And then you want everybody that's a part of the movement to come to your rescue. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, bro, yeah, we
But
this is
we have
real in
to,
our community, like every day.
it's kind of like, that, there was wrestler, like little kids wrestling. I think it was young kids. And, the Caucasian mother got up and like grabbed the black, I think it was a black boy, I can't remember, and like, to help, because I guess their child was losing. And I'm like, nothing happened to that person. But if that was
Well,
a black person who jumped up and grabbed that non-black kid, they would have been in handcuffs.
well, let's just, man, yeah. There's
You
the
know what I mean?
story of the young player that had, I think, like, what was it,
Dread,
braids or like
Dreads,
dreads.
some kind of,
dreads.
no, not the ones that got cut off. They just had beads in their hair, something
Oh,
like
the
Oh
that.
yeah,
volleyball
the
That
player.
would,
beads. Yes,
yeah,
they made her
and
take out the bead. Hmm.
because there was
And
no
all,
black parent around, because there was no
yeah,
in that, because in that moment a black, you would leave the damn hair alone. You got to explain to me having them beads in their hair is gonna make them not be able to do this particular activity. Like, no, there's got to be an understanding that we have to stand firm on fixing these problems, because they do exist and they will continue to exist because of what Juana Washington says. Because of what Patrice says, it came before the current oppressive situation. We have to deal with it. However we understand it, we have to deal with it and then move forward. We can't take it on to the next part of the journey. It can't be a breadcrumb that comes with us. The solutions have to be what we leave behind. So we have to have the difficult conversations. We have to be honest about the fact that it does exist today, even if we are aware that we are the oldest living consciousness on the planet. Thus, we are all one, God damn it. I get that part. And at
So,
But
some point,
so
like I
who?
said, a thing that we need to stop. Like you got so many of our people. They dying to go to Harvard. They dying to go to all of these, you know, Ivy League institutions, and then when they experience racism, then they want to cry. I mean, this is going to be expected. This is going to be expected. When you go into a white institution for the most part, and you are of African descent, you can almost expect that to happen. So when that does happen, it's like you're in a predominant, you're in a white institution that was built on it. So when you experience it, then they act like it's culture shock for them, which it probably is, because until they experience it, they so far removed from it. Just like a lot of police officers are so far removed that think that certain things don't specifically uh, 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 disapportionate us as a race of people. You can talk to a black police officer and they'll say, well, you know what happened to white police officers too. Nobody said it didn't. We just said disproportionately it happens to black people more. That's what we're saying, you know? And it's crazy the thinking of even some of my people when it comes to that.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Because Juana can't respond can't come up on the camera. I'm not going to. I'm responding to her in the chat because that's just uh, meeting her where she is, for lack of a better way of putting it. Go ahead.
Oh, I wish Wanna could come up. I mean, I've always got what she meant when she said that we're not black and they're not white, and how we fell for that. I totally get it, So I do understand the point, because she's right,
So what are
in that
we then?
aspect. I get it.
So
Well, we
what?
are whatever your ancestry is what you are, really.
Yeah, but
You know what I
but
mean?
but nine
So,
times
but
out of 10, most people don't know.
right,
So so
and that's
so
and
just to
that's the
say,
problem.
yeah, I mean, but
Hmm.
just to say, oh, you're not black, you're not white, blah blah blah. I just eh, that's like sprinkles on ice cream. You know what I mean? That's the little things. What's the bigger
Hmm.
issue? How are we gonna show up and support? Ignoring it and saying, "Oh, I don't respond to ignorant people." That not everybody has that luxury to not respond, or not show up, or to walk away, or to ignore it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's the problem. So you're taking what, like, for instance, one of one of the streams we had, and it was talking about um ignoring, just sitting in the background and just ignoring um the the racist, or as a black woman, just ignoring it, or just have a positive attitude, and that will change everything around you. And I'm like, that's BS.
Right.
That's BS. And if I'm a black woman in a room full of vultures, as I call it, or no, excuse me, as P. Diddy said, a room full of roaches. Um, I'm not, and I have an idea. I'm not going to sit in the background because I'm black, and just, and I said on the panel, I was like, Your mindset has nothing to do with the racism that's being shown to you. I could be the happiest person in the world. I could speak the gentlest, and just my mere presence, I'm called aggressive. I'm called an angry Black woman. Has nothing to do with what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's their perception. So my
Mm-hmm.
mindset, that's not the win all the
You
be
so
all. Like,
Queen, you're so right. It is perception, and it's
yeah.
unfortunate that the perception of Black people, and I'm using the word, Black people, because that's what it is at the moment. We're called Black people or African Americans or whatever. None of it is 100% right, but it's unfortunate that our race of people get labeled and get perceived to be something for the most part that we're not, and we get profiled for it, we get discriminated against for it, all those things. Just recently, I think it was yesterday or the day before, a 14-year-old autistic Black boy was in Target with his sister, and the police, again, there was no de-escalation. He manhandles the boy, and the girl is screaming. My brother's autistic. Like none of that. These police heard. The police didn't. They didn't hear none of that. And this is the thing that when I've been on panels with like brother Nathan, the 13-year former veteran that has a one-track ignorant mind, in my opinion, when it comes to uh, Black people and white people, and the perpetuation of racial profiling that we get, that we know that people of non-color or white people do not get in a different light. We're not saying it doesn't happen to white people. We're not saying white people don't get shot. We're not saying white people don't get deleted. We're not saying none of that don't happen to white people. We're just saying that it happens to Black people disproportionately. But he has a one track mind of saying, just because we saying it's us, he's saying, well, it's white people too. And seeing, to me, that's the same thing as when we say Black lives matter, then somebody white say, well, white people lives matter too. Nobody is saying it didn't. We're just saying right now at the moment, because it's happening to us disproportionately, our lives matter. We're not saying white people life don't matter. So to me, it's like you know what I mean? It's like the double talk, or the double-edged sword of people that do that. And that's what I don't like, that when that gets perpetuated. It's just like if I say I need my house to be redecorated. And then Queen go and say, well, I need my house decorated too. Okay. Nobody's saying that you don't, but right now the issue is my house. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, it's like that's what he does, and that's what to me is the ignorance on his part. And he's so far removed, since he wanted to say my statement was ignorant because I said we're saying disproportionately it happens more to Black people, and there was this bullying tactic and this whole, whoa, shut up, you shouldn't say that, hold on, OG Patrice, don't you say. No, see, you're not going to try that police bullying tactic that you guys do, but when you're trying to shut us up, you're not going to shut me up. Matter of fact, I doubled down on what the fuck I said. I said what I said, and it happens to Blacks disproportionately because we are profiled and viewed differently than white people are. And I mean that. And I stand on that. Mr. Nathaniel Daly,
Oh,
take that to the
sugar
bank.
honey iced tea.
Take that to the bank.
We just calling shots out here in these streets.
Oh,
Yo.
I'm calling him out, girl. He did a whole stream on police thing, and I was the whole subject, and he calling my comments ignorant and shit, and said, well, I just saw it the other day. I'm like, whoa, okay. Since we gonna go down, I'm gonna call you out. You call my name. Oh, what OG percent? Well, see, it's the ignorance of statements like OG Patrice that's perpetuating the wrong ideas out here. No, the fuck I ain't.
Mm.
No, I ain't. I've been out there marching. I've been out there protesting. JP know what it's about.
Man,
We're saying disproportionately. We're not saying it doesn't happen to any other races. Get the fuck out of here.
in fact,
We're saying disproportionately.
I make it a point of saying that it happens to 1,000 people a year. Over 20 years, that's 20,000 people who have been murdered without answers by people in uniform. Make it make sense. So, hey,
Exactly.
let's talk about it. Hey, Darshawn McAway, how's your spirit, fella? Glad to see you. I'm telling you, I'm trying to catch as much of your content as I can. I'm slow going these days, man. Y'all, it's cold in Arizona right now. Patrice, child, I need to go heat me up some tea. Y'all out and gave up coffee, so. Ooh, child. I don't really miss the taste of coffee even. It's more just having something warm. I eat more without coffee. But I wanted to say, but see, that was the thing that the first time that we got into a real heated back and forth, it was about this particular round of protest in 2020 and why it was black men specifically didn't stand up and run to the fight. And I was like, because we're talking about the fact that it's the majority them, right?
And right.
Um,
Um,
so it was that part. I don't know. You know what, nephew? It's been a moment. You want to give what the question is for Darshawn from a fella's perspective? You've been quiet, and witnessing, so to speak. You want to testify?
Hold on one second. Let me throw my headset on. Sorry.
It's all right.
No.
and
Welcome back, Queen. It's been a long time, little Miss Mousy self.
I just want to know what panels have won or been thrown off. She's saying when she say that she's thrown off panels.
yeah,
Mm.
who cares?
I don't know.
Be nice,
Um,
Queen.
okay.
Um,
Questlove's
I'm
in the
just gonna
building.
say
Good lord.
I have to go. I'm wrapping up, but if you want to know my theme song, I'll listen as I drive home. It's called "Hero" by Nas.
Yes,
oh
ma'am. I
Lord,
will
have
write it
mercy.
down so I don't
Why?
forget. I'll
Why
put it in
you
private
got
chat.
something? You got something to say, Mr. Best in the World?
No,
Hey,
no.
AJ,
can you
Get
say it
home. Get
you
home
later,
come over
Mr.
safely,
there,
Best
Queen.
in the World?
nephew.
I know, right?
I don't know what you over there chopping about.
Get home safely, Queen.
Ooh,
Get home safely. Come on.
ooh,
Bye,
ooh.
everyone.
Love and happiness. Hey, make you do
Bye,
right.
Queen.
Y'all need to watch a
Bye,
Bye.
couple of
Queen.
my other
Bye.
streams. Shout out to the Harris Tribe Media Gang. Anyway, my bad.
Hey.
Go ahead, nephew. Do your thing.
I
Take
mean,
your time, young man. My bad. Go ahead. Okay, I'm good. I'm done. I'm done.
no, no, no. You great. You great, Auntie. I mean, I think when we speak about what we go through in our experience, I think it's going to come from a very, you know, it's going to be an array of things that we speak to. But I think none of it should be where people should be demonizing each other or telling each other like, oh well, you're this way, or you're that way, or don't say this or don't say that. I think
Hmm.
we need to hear all perspectives because that's how we learn. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to learn if I don't hear all perspectives. You know what I'm saying? I'm only going to just think that my perspective is always right. And at the end of the
Exactly.
day, that's not true. Like I'm gonna be wrong sometimes if if I really look at things. I mean, but you have to be open to the possibility of being wrong. And I think a lot of times people are not open to the possibility of being wrong.
Hmm.
They want to
There
be
you
right
go,
at
84.
all times. Like,
Yep.
and it's
And
like,
and because he's a police officer, he think he's right at all times about that perspective, and he's dead fucking wrong.
yeah,
Dead fucking wrong.
but I think when it comes to the whole YouTube thing, I think it has to be where we're like, okay, um, we have to be like, okay, this is perspective. This is somebody's perspective. They share what they shared. Let them move on. You know,
No, yeah,
and
that's it. And I respect his perspective, but I'm saying it's dead wrong of another person to call another person's perspective ignorant just because you don't agree with it and you have a perspective that you want to win over the
hmm
masses with. So you're gonna say the other person's perspective is ignorant to say. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying that
Mhm.
is dead wrong. Because I
Mhm.
actually respected his perspective because I know he's speaking of it from a police officer's perspective. But I'm speaking
Mm.
from it for as a black woman who has had family and son has had experiences with the police department and police officers and what
Mhm.
I've seen in my lifetime. So
Mhm.
why can't two things be right at the same time? You
And
know
that's
what
the
I'm
thing. I
saying?
think. I think. I think. I think. I think we just gotta get to the point where we see that. Like, okay,
Exactly.
what I'm saying is right, but also what this other person is saying is right. It's not.
Exactly. And,
It's
and,
not.
and
It's
you
not
try
more of one than the other. You know.
thank you. He's trying to create a narrative that it's only one way, which is his way, because he's seeing it from the eyes of a police officer's perspective only, and not
Mm.
from a citizen who's dealt with and experienced police brutality in her family, racism, racially profiling, and all of that. He'll sit up and he'll say, "Yeah, I know it happens." And it's almost like, what do you call it when a person you saying you realize it, but then you saying it's wrong or you're against it or it's ignorant to say it, but at the same time you say you know it happened. I forget what you call it. It's like a double negative or fucking oxymoron or some shit. You know what I mean? To even say that. It's like two things can be right at the same time. I understand his perspective about, yes, it happens to all races of people. But what we're saying is, in the moment, in these times, it happens disproportionately to Black people more when you look at the percentages of the prison system, the judicial system, the criminal justice system, and how the difference is when a Black man and a white man goes to the jail for the same crime that they
Mhm.
commit, and they could be have never committed a crime before, and it's still a difference in the sentencing. And I know there's a difference in each state, but I'm saying it's still, you take a Black man and a white man in the state of Texas. Okay, let's
Mm.
be real about what Texas is. And we know Texas is very, very racist when it comes to
Mhm.
things like that. They gave one young man, or was it a young lady? A young lady like 100 years for stealing a jacket or something out of a store. This was back
Wow.
in the 80s or something. Like, come on. So we know disproportionately that Blacks have suffered more than any other race of people. I tell you what, who has the Innocent Project help exonerate more than any other race of people for being wrongfully committed? And that is
Mm.
a prime example of how the justice system and how it leans more towards people of other races other than Black people. The Innocent Project have gotten freed and helped freed more innocent Black men than any other race of people that have
Yep.
not committed the crimes that they were accused for and spent 20, 30, 40 years in prison for. And we know that to be
Mm.
factual.
And there are
Mm.
still men going through this, and we don't talk about it. Men just getting out 43 years. Michael Craig, like, that's not his name. Forgive me. There's so many instances of these things happening that to not speak on them and speak truth to power, and those who would rather um, commune with power, uh, we're being disingenuous. We're not. I'm sorry. Ugh, that word. We're not being honest about what's happening right now. We all want, let's say, utopia, so to speak. We all
Mhm.
understand that everyone is oppressed in some way. Yet, like I said before, the reason why the eyes of the world are on America and specifically Black folks is because our plight is the plight. If
Mm.
we get it right, everyone can get it right. Peace and knowledge, Black relationship, revelations, Black light revelations. Excuse me. Welcome to the chat and channel for the first time. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Darshan, welcome back, man. It's been a hot minute. Forgive me, y'all, while I gush and get excited for a moment. You talking about A1 day ones, Patrice and Darshan, man. And Wana. That's like That's like going back to the old school for a moment. So I
Right.
appreciate y'all being up here. Dashawn, go ahead.
No problem. I be catching you from time to time. What was the question on the floor? Because I didn't really see it in the chat.
Well, really, we began this conversation talking about colorism in the educational institution specifically, and
Okay.
how it was used to keep black folks at a disadvantage, darker skinned blacks at a disadvantage compared to lighter skinned blacks. And they used educators and the benefits of education at that time to make that separation. So we were just
Okay.
having a conversation framed around that.
Gotcha. Can you guys hear me clear, or does it sound like an echo?
No, we can hear you clearly. It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
little bit low, but
All
that
right.
might be me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this particular topic is actually pretty important to me because I'm married and I have a 6-year-old daughter, and part of the reason I had started writing books was because when I grew up, I had always heard the term, black. I was always referenced to black. I'm light skinned. My mother and father, they're black. I'm not biracial or anything like that. So, and neither is my daughter. And one day, I said to my daughter, I say, Anaya, you're black. And what she heard was and saw in her mind was the actual color black.
Color. Hmm.
Right. So she was like, Daddy, I'm not black. And I was confused. I was like, no, I'm like, no, you're black. And she's like, no, she grabbed a crayon and she was like,
Hmm.
I'm not this color. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, technically I say, sweetheart, yes, you are absolutely correct. You are not the color of a crayon. That color of a crayon doesn't have your character, doesn't have your personality. And it was so hard for me to explain this to her because technically speaking, maybe this is just my perspective, my opinion. We are not the actual color of a crayon. We're referenced to that color. And in that color is always reference to something negative, to a bad stereotype. That if
Hmm.
like as if you're in complete darkness, right? So she was 5 years old. This happened about a year ago. And as I'm explaining to her what the color black represents to the world's perspective, my wife had to step in and say, hey, listen, that's what people consider us as. They consider us as black people, but we're not that. We were just trying to tell you that some people are going to look at you this way. So, as a parent, as a husband, and all those things, it's so hard. It's extremely hard to raise your children, your siblings, if you will, to understand the difference between the color and the characteristics of being black. So, as I'm listening to this conversation, I agree with most of what you guys are saying. I don't want to fully put the color on us, but I think it helps us as we grow up as children to understand the world's perspective of how they see black people and what black the color actually means.
Mm.
Yeah, I can agree with that perspective of what you're saying, and this is the thing because for your daughter being the age she is, that was only natural for her mind at her young age to go there because she's taught colors in school and things of that nature. So when you say black to her, of course she thinks of a black crayon. And to have to explain it to her at such a young age is what I'm finding that we happen to do and have these conversations with the younger generation as a whole because the same thing happened with a situation with my grandkids who are biracial and they are asking the question, am I black and am I white and I'm not black like the crayon or white like the crayon. So how am I black and white? It's crazy, but yes, I agree
Yeah.
totally. You have to talk about, how the world sees us, the character of you, not the actual color like the color of a crayon, but just like I said, it's such a social construct that how we got to find ways to have the conversation because
Right.
Um, I,
it's happening young. It's happening
Very.
young.
Yeah, very
well,
young.
Mhm.
there. they're coming to understanding at a younger age for sure. My eldest son brought it to my attention first, the black crayon thing, but it was actually him describing the little girl that had given him her phone number because he had drawn a picture of he and this little girl, a peach complected girl, uh, underneath the rainbow holding hands, and underneath she'd written her phone number on it. And I was like, oh hell, this is trouble in the making right here. And
Mm.
so I asked him about the picture and the crayons that he used to just, to explain the picture. And so I agree that children do see are very literal for quite a long time. Yet we do have to have to be able to explain to them the world sees you one way, no matter how you see yourself. And it takes some time to be able to have those conversations. And um, we don't always get it right, but we do try. But when you said the color of black, I wanted to say one of the things that I wanted my sons to understand, and I wrote that opening to the song from S.L. Rouds, is that we are the color born in darkness, because you understand that all color comes from the color black, not the other way around.
Mhm.
Mm.
Um, and so when you explain that to children, you can, it's just an opportunity to understand color and build a through line where, there's still beauty in each of those colors. It's just understanding where they are in how you make your art, and how you can use them in different ways and dynamics. You just have to have the conversation in a different way. That's
Yeah.
the thing. But we are, as far as the world and society and where we are today is concerned, we are black people. And we aren't
Mhm.
fighting for the bottom. The ones who are actually at the bottom of the moment are, I'm sorry, are Hispanics, Mexicans specifically, those coming over, supposed illegals, right? Because we were illegal at one point, fresh out of slavery. And it only took 10 years for us to divide ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what's interesting? Um,
Hmm.
Go ahead.
just real quickly, something that's very interesting is a part of an industry that I'm in. Y- always heard that some people think that the white man or white woman's water is ice colder. And what I've learned through my business tenure is that some of the white people, if you will, or even European people, are some of the most financed people in the world. And the finance people, they never get an opportunity to actually own their homes. They get approved for the mortgages, they get approved for the loans, but they're some of the most financed people that live paycheck to paycheck. And I'm gonna do a stream on this at some point, of exposing the fact that the way they look at black people when it comes to finances and owning property and things of that nature, we're actually very successful. And I dislike the fact that a lot of people look at black people or the color black as something so negative when we're the most sought after people on the planet. And when I say sought after, I'm talking about our stories, right? Our hair texture, the way we do things in fashion, you know. And it's something that's not nationally or even widely televised. It's trying to get there, but it just amazes me, to see this dynamic happening in the world.
Yeah, we are trendsetters, right? Like everybody wants to follow our trends. They like our skin, our hair, our
Mm.
lips, our the way we shaped, certain things about us until it's time to be us. That's what I said. Everybody want to be black till it's time to be black.
Hmm.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? So it's a sort of like that, right? And
Yep.
I think the best representation that we can show our children as what it means to be black, if we're going to continue to have this word on us until it changes again. Actually, Jesse Jackson gave African American in the 80s, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. And everybody is not of African descent. So That's why I say it's so important. If as many of us that can really want to know our lineage, want to know your history, we really should do it. I always speak of it on panels. I did it, and I think it's important, to know exactly who you are, if you do have any African ancestry, what part, what lineage, what's your background with that. I think it's important because we are a lost identity of people, because when we were brought over here, everything was ripped away from us. And that's why our race of people is in such need to feel needed and to feel like we have to belong to something. That's why we join sororities. That's why we join clubs. That's why we join this and we join that, is because we have no sense of identity of self, that we bought into what they told us we should buy into.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's what I talk about on my channel, is that total belief in like self, being successful within yourself, right? Because so many the world is so huge when it comes to the internet, and I was caught up in, oh, I better do this with big box retail, and if I get in with this in crowd, they're gonna accept me, and then come to find out that I could do it myself. I don't need a third party. I don't need anyone
Mm-hmm.
else. And I started honing in on that and giving people what I thought was the best of me. So as I'm raising my child and I'm having a relationship with my wife, as a man, I have to sit down and I have to always constantly lead, always constantly teach, right? Because I have to lead by example. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that color black, I hate and I dislike the fact that it's associated with so much negativity, because when I see my black people, I don't see no robber, I don't see no thief, I don't see no drug dealer, I don't see what other people see. I see somebody trying to make their way, and they may be a little misguided, but I don't think the worst of them. So when I'm
Exactly, and
out,
and that's what's being perpetuated though by
yeah,
the
yeah,
predominant race is that black. When you look at it, they want you to look at that black crayon as dark and scary and gloomy and like all of the negative things, when it's brilliant and it's rich and it's all those other things, that we come from as well. So that's what I try to represent and uplift in my black community, in my family, in my grandchildren, in my, I did that in my son, is that even when James Brown came out with "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud," it was a sense of pride for us back in the 70s when that song came out. And I taught it to my son. Lift every voice and sing, to be young, gifted, and black. Like all of those things meant the greatness of our plight of our people, of where they come from, and persevere with greatness. So that's the light that we need to continue to shine upon our race. If you want to label us as black, we're going to represent it in the light that I grew up with it to be, and that was a sense of pride and power.
right. Yeah, I
And
totally agree.
speaking of when you were talking about the finance and even in the housing, the financial institutes and the housing system, I just read something a couple of days ago where the banks are still discriminating against African Americans when it comes to home ownership. I just read something recently where Wells Fargo was back in the news again, where they have absolutely discriminated against during the pandemic people that wanted to refinance. They discriminated against more black people than they did any other race of people. And I just read that about a week ago. So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
when people, it really kills me when people say that that systemic racism does not exist, it's not happening. That's because it hasn't happened to you doesn't mean it's not happening.
right.
It's happening. You know what I mean? So to even know that these things are still still happening now in 2022, as we read articles, as we see things happening in the world, it's a real thing. And because it is not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And again, when we were talking about the whole policing situation, of course, police is going to be biased on the side of what they have viewed, what they've worked, the communities, what they've seen, and that's understandable. And I'm not saying that a police view of problematic in the Black community is not real, because it is real, right? Because we know our crime is up, our murder rates is up, and things of that. Yes, we know that, but to only say that it's only that is majority of the reason is because of what we're doing to ourselves, that I won't buy into, because there is race things of when it comes to crime is always perpetuated by somebody of the same race as them majority of the time, right? So if you are in a Black community and there's crime going on in the Black community, 9 times out of 10 is done by a Black person. If you are in a predominantly white community and the crime is going on, it's predominantly done by from one white person to another. Same as Hispanic, same as Asian. So it kills me when, and it's like people like to use that as a reason to say, if we say, well, disproportionately, the police officers are killing Black men and women more disproportionately than any other race. Yeah, but it's Black on Black crime, and why are we killing each other? We know we know that it's the problem, but to say that in the same sentence, that it's two different things. It's two separate situations. We know we got a problem in the Black community that we need to work on and resolve when it comes to Black on Black crime, aka Black on Black crime, just like anybody else would in their own community with their own race crime against each other. It's no different. But when we try to say it one thing for another, that's when it becomes problematic. How do we address the Black on Black crime? That should be separate of how do we address the racist, systemic racist system and racial profiling and policing and stuff per our people. It's separate incidents that we need to, handle separately. We shouldn't say one within the other. If that makes sense.
It makes sense, and I'm a problem solver, and I'm a issue solver too. I come up with solutions, and one of the it just took me a few years to really think about it, which probably should have took me a couple of minutes to end a lot of what's happening with Black people, as parents, as guardians, as aunties, uncles. We have to talk to the younger children to let them know what's going on. The issue is, what's the appropriate time to talk to them? Because if my parents didn't talk to me about how I was viewed in life, I wouldn't have been able to move the way I'm moving now, which would be considered in the corporate setting or the manufacturing setting and distribution. Because as a Black person, to them, I'm looked at as, I don't have any resources, I don't have any finances, I don't have anyone to back me up. I'm just a person that's looking to try to get ahead. So once I figured out how to become a supplier to these major manufacturers, I became more so an asset and a resource. So for me, it's talking to my family, which is where it starts for me. Charity starts at home. It starts from, hey, this is how you're viewed. That's not how I view you, but that's how the world views you. When it comes to police officers, hey, this is how you're viewed. I'm actually working on a curriculum for all police stations to give children in middle school and high school just a little bit of knowledge of how police officers approach people during traffic citations. Because for a person to get killed for a traffic stop is by far the most ridiculous thing that has ever happened in history.
I said that too, brother, long time ago on a panel. I said that there's no way for traffic violations someone should be getting deleted off the face of the earth because of that. This is no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It,
Um,
it it makes no sense. It's not acceptable. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, no, I appreciate that. I want to have a conversation with you. We can start it now, have it later, whatever. Yet, you understand finance, so maybe you can help me before my recent adventures and this dive into YouTube. I was studying economics through the Khan Academy, trying to put a human understanding to the GDP, right? And the things that make it up. I understand that you've got to have capital, you've got to have inventory, monuments, and I always forget the housing. I think it is.
Hmm.
Um, and I understand human in that way when we look at the system, so to speak, right? So inventory is going to be slaves and children. Capital outright is the funds itself to come over here, the land itself once you got here and making use of it. But I wanted, I, I guess right now I just wonder um, what your perspective would be on getting people to understand how they make this system move. And that's not a, because it's not just a black thing, right? Women would be considered part of inventory because they help make those children. They help make the children when they come over, when we first created this country, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's just trying to get that understanding. We all are a cog in this system, and if we all pull out of this system, then the system will either have to course correct or it will fall, and we will pick up the pieces and move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, okay. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, a lot of what's happening now, especially since technology is moving to like cryptocurrency and everything else like that, with like non-fungible tokens, NFTs. Um, the market is solely seeing the manufacturers, right? Where everybody's placed, whether they're in India, in China, Turkey, over here in the United States. So it's being reduced from men and women and more focused on warehouses. So at this particular point in time, the world is so large when it comes to the internet and technology that if you're not able to get ahead in life, it's solely up to you because the manufacturers, like a perfect example, prime example, and I peeped my little sister to game. My sister, she's 25 years old. The L'Oreal company, the one of the companies that billion-dollar company, they have a manufacturing plant all over the world. I told my little sister, I said, hey, listen, just go ahead and start a private label. I can get you connected with Walmart, but you gotta show me that you're doing numbers on your own, right? And I can represent you as a black woman owned company and we can get you going. She took advantage of that. The same products that L'Oreal makes, they're making for my sister, but at a private label, at a wholesale rate from a private label. Same product, just a different logo. So at this point in time, there is no excuses for any race or any color, if you will, to not get ahead. They try to make that perception out there to say that you have to be marketing your dollars and you got to do this, but these manufacturing companies, they deal with everyone. Anyone who has some money, they're going to deal with
Yeah, because I was gonna say, yeah, everybody ain't gonna get ahead. It's not, the system is not designed for that.
you. Hmm.
So when it comes to how we predominantly get targeted because of our credit, and because of we don't have the capital and things of that nature, is a hell of a reason, as opposed to an immigrant can come over here and they can apply for loans and grants and things easier than we can and set up shop. And we born and raised here, bred, works, blood, sweat, and tears. So that's not necessarily true. Everybody is not going to be able to get ahead. And,
Hmm.
and 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 for some of those very reasons. And that was the whole thing behind what, we were talking about when Biden wants to give the immigrants $450,000, when you have Americans over here that worked hard their whole life, and they may not have the best credit, and they may not have the capital or the resources. This is what I'm saying is the unequality that goes on in America when it comes to America and our system and our government and things of that nature. So everybody ain't gonna be able to get ahead because everybody don't have the resources, everybody don't have the capital, and everybody don't have the credit.
Well,
That's
how,
just
how
true.
about that's true. And how about this? And this is something that I focused on that's at the foundation. Not everybody has the ambition to want to get ahead. Not everybody's interested in the same thing. Some people don't,
Now
some
that
people
is
don't,
true.
some people will never want to aspire to have over $100,000 or
That is
even
true.
have 100,000 even saved up just set to the side. So
Hmm.
I had pulled back from teaching my people, even my own family, hey, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. And when I found out that they wanted me to do that for them, I then realized that, okay, this has to be a certain portion of the world that's not trying to get ahead financially. So a lot of people don't have that ambition and that persistence to want to be more or even want to have more. So I totally agree with you. Not everybody's going to get ahead.
I
Yeah, and I
think that
totally agree with your statement too.
I,
So
th- I
two
think
things can be right at the same time. Go
I,
figure.
I think that that's true only because within our culture, if you look at people from foreign lands, they're raised from birth to live by certain standards, certain morals, certain creeds, and they're taught certain financial things to be about from the time that they're small. So I think that with us here in the States, especially our people in the States, we're just told do whatever you want. So you know what I mean? Like I remember when I was younger and I wanted to get a phone and I didn't understand, about credit. I didn't understand anything about that because I was told stop using my phone, go get your own phone. But nobody explained to me that yeah, you may not want to use your credit to do that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody explained to me those different things. So because I didn't have an understanding of that, I wanted to make decisions that weren't the best decisions at the time because none of those things were broken down. You know what I'm saying? So I think when we look at other cultures, they take their time and they're teaching their young from birth. This is how we live. These are our customs. These are our traditions. These are what we do. And then what they do is because I remember I did an interview with somebody and she was from the Middle East and she was talking about how how she dates and how basically the men in her family pick her spouse. They vet the spouse, they pick them, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of different. You know what I mean? It's kind of a little weird because I'm Americanized, but in their culture, that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? So, and they're taught that these things are correct. You know what I'm saying? So I think because we're not taught certain things, that's why we don't do them. You know what I mean? And it's not natural
Mhm.
for us. Can it be changed? Yes, it can definitely be changed. But I think it's a behavior that we have to basically, want to change, and it has to be something that we're willing to go after. So,
Yeah.
um, and
I agree with that.
we have to just address that this is a problem
Yeah,
because it
and
is a problem.
the thing about it with our race of people is unfortunately we wasn't many of our white counterparts, they were born into wealth. A lot of them are trust fund babies. A lot of their wealth was generational passed down to them, right? Ours weren't. We are the
Hmm.
ones that were told and had to get it by the bootstraps. So for the ones that did, and it's unfortunate because majority of us ain't gonna be able to even get it by the bootstraps because we don't even have the damn boots, first of all.
Mm.
So when you don't have anything or you not start, just think of a lot of many black families that came from nothing but generations of nothing but generation of poverty and poorness,
Hmm.
and think of your white counterpart that a generation has come from wealth that was built off the backs of the very generation of the people who are poor. So that's the difference. So when you have a 450 plus year head start, then of course majority of those people are going to be wealthier than the majority of our people for said
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. And that Head Start, and man, this is I'm so glad you said that. That Head Start in which you speak about, those families are so well connected with certain groups of banks that
That part. That part.
when those last names pop up in the system, oh, you're Greg Washington's son, and or great that plays a huge part.
Generations. Yep, it goes back generations. We don't have that. That's you're
Yeah.
right. You're 100% right,
Yeah.
Darshawn.
Yep, because they look at us as, well, you the ones that were enslaved, so how can you have capital? How can you afford this finance? And they know, unfortunately, they know that we can't. And one of the main things I found out was when black people don't have manufacturing, which to me, I'm explaining this to you guys very carefully. So listen to me very clearly. Manufacturing is the start of a business. It means the start of a product, the start of making boxes, the start of making a staple, the start of making a pencil. So when they realize that black people, if you will, black Americans, however you want to phrase it, when they realize that we don't have that type of manufacturing, we're seen to the corporate world as less than. And it could be changed. It really can. It can be changed, but we have to have a certain group of people who are willing to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. There's no hierarchy in this. Everybody's putting their money in. We're going to split it down the middle and we're just going to move forward. But what I've realized in my own people and even in my own family, somebody wants to be the
I
head
already
honcho.
know. I know
Yeah.
what you get
So
ready to say.
listen, listen. I had a family member. I helped her. I told her, listen, I'm just going to charge you. I'm just going to charge you the bare minimum to get your book produced. I'm going to tell you everything I did to get my books inside of Walmart, and I'm going to do the same thing for you. She flipped it around and made me become her working horse. And I say that's not what the agreement was. So we're so busy trying to be the head honcho over somebody else that we miss out on the opportunity. And for us that are in the spiritual world, we miss out on the blessing. I wrote her a contract to remove myself from that and say, but listen, hey, here's all your money. Actually, here's your money back. It was a pleasure knowing you, but I'm not going to continue doing business with you.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And a lot of times you're right. It happens with your own family members.
It's that
So, you know,
familiarity of it.
yeah.
It's the you
So
know
so
me, we got this
Darshawn,
extra thing piece. Yeah.
yeah, so Darshawn, you are a author of like what children's books that are
Hold
in
on, wait.
what?
Let me just give him a proper introduction if we're gonna do all that. He is a true Renaissance man out here in Black America. Come up, right? Got children's books. I have to say this because it's late night on a Monday, and some of us need joy on Tuesday morning. Had a condom business. I don't know if he still has it, but did have one at some point. You just recently started, what was it, an underwear
Yes.
collection?
Yeah, I'm
See,
actually
Oh,
working on that
wow.
tonight.
I,
Yeah,
I told you I'm paying attention. I'm not out
I
here
see.
bullshitting you,
I hear
bruh.
you.
What else? He done so many things. He's absolutely amazing. And I just so just a proper introduction is he is a man about town, a man of mystery. He moves in silence, but when he pops up, he has a whole lot to say, and it's absolutely fantastic. Not just his content, but him as a person. He's been rocking with me, even though I've been saying for just as long I'm gonna get my act right and make a clip. But hey, shout out to you. My very first clip during this stream was for you, Mr. McAway. I appreciate you. You're part of my foundation of fellow videos. He's a great dude. So go ahead and get all your flowers. I'm gonna even go ahead and give you the main screen while you do it.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I'm interested in your books and what age does they cater to? Because I have grandchildren. So,
oh, listen, JP, thank you so much. Every time I see your stream, I do smile because you always ask, how is my spirit? And that's something that's very important to me because my spirit, every time I see you and being out here in the world, is very well, prosperous. I'm healthy, I'm wealthy. And I just thank you so much for loving on my family, even though you don't know them, you always ask about them. So I really thank you for that. To answer your question, Patrice, so I do write children's books. I've been in the children's book industry for the past 6 years, going on 7. They're from ages infant to 7 years old, right? And it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal series. I'm not just saying it because I made it, but I'm saying it because it comes from a personal experience as a parent, as a husband, and as a father of me learning how to develop my love and my relationship to care for my child, if you will. Um, as JP had mentioned, I came out with a condom line. I have my own wine. I have my own underwear, which I'm working on tonight, which is why I'm up. I have a podcast. I was getting ready to come out with some cigars, but I think I'm gonna hold off on that. But I have a few different things going on. And what I like to teach people is how to get inside of big box retail. But if you don't
Mhm.
get inside there, that's not the end all be all, because big box retail, they're looking for people to put into their stores. So if you can do your own thing by yourself, they'll reach out to you, because if you're marketing correctly and you're moving correctly, which JP said, moving in silence, those people will catch up on you and say, "Hey, do you want your stuff inside our stores?" And then that gives you the opportunity to negotiate to come out on the better end of things.
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
So my YouTube channel, it should just be under my name,
Okay.
Darshawn McAway. So it's titled Wild Podcast .me,
Okay.
because I get an opportunity to speak to New York Times and USA Today best-selling authors. I'm a best-selling author myself. I have over 35
Congrats.
published books. I have 2
Awesome.
publishing companies. So I like to speak to other people, and this is what they don't even realize this. I like to speak to the New York Times best-selling authors to find out if they did it better than me. So what I did was I said, let me interview these people, my white counterparts, to see if they went through the struggle of what I went through. And what I found out was, if you listen to the interviews, none of them, and I mean none of my white counterparts, went through any of the struggle that I went through.
Yeah, of course not. Because I'm sure you probably had to get a lot of extra backing and help and funding and
I had
resources,
to, I had to,
provide. Yeah.
yeah, I had to
Hmm.
scout people out. I had to damn near manipulate emails, if you will, make myself seem better than what I was, to get somebody's attention, in order to get certain books through certain stores,
Now,
and when I asked
do
them,
you also have? I'm sorry. Do you also
go
have
ahead.
a website for your product?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can go to darshawnmcaway.com, and it'll list all
Okay.
my endeavors.
Okay. We'll do
The
that.
underwear line right now is not listed. I got a
Hmm.
good story that's going to come out with that. The underwear line, and it's a little sneak peek for you guys. See, the underwear line is built for black men, because black men are built differently.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, for well, not unfortunately, but we're just built differently. And
Hmm.
I told my wife this like last week. I say, "Yo, listen, I got to find some underwear that's built for me, and the only way I'm going to do that is if I design my own." And of course,
I like that.
She had her reserves about it, but at the same time, she understood where I was coming from, because I said, I'm spending my money on all these other products. And I say, these same companies that I'm dealing with
Hmm.
make the underwear that I'm buying from other people, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. I like it. A brother with a plan.
Yeah.
I like that. Congratulations to you as well. I'm definitely gonna check your website out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So you
If
can
you,
drop the website link in the chat too. I
all right.
think. So yeah. I did nah. I just see. I like it. I was like, Lade, look, Darshawn. I appreciate you still being out here, dude. I'm telling you, it's just one of those things. Good night, Darrell. Thank you so much. I'm surprised you still up anyway. But yeah, just the fact that you're still around, Darshawn, makes me understand, you know, where I am, and just to keep trucking. Every now and then you get hit with something that doesn't make sense, and you have to check your perspective, or reevaluate how you're moving. And I admit to that. That's when I go dark, though. I'm not out here trying to put all of my imposter syndrome all over YouTube. I would just, you know what I'm saying?
Night,
I'd rather
Darrell
just
Long.
let it hang out
I,
at
I didn't.
home.
I just saw Darrell was saying good night. I didn't know he was in the chat. I was saying good night to him. Yeah, but that's great. That's awesome. I like when young black
Um,
men and women are
oh,
becoming, are becoming entrepreneurs and finding ways to have a business and multiple streams of income is so important. So yeah, shout out to you for sure. I'm definitely gonna check your website out. My
Gotcha.
grandkids are a little too old for the book now, but I'm definitely gonna check out just
Well,
go and check out some of your
well,
products.
I hear that. I hear that a lot too. Um, don't negate the fact that these children's books, they're going to be collectors items. Because I'm in the process, and I've always been in that process to let the African American Museum say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I've sold. So this is something to look at. So my books are going to be collector's items, so
Okay.
don't just think about it as, hey, my kids are older. Think about the future, because children's books, they don't go out of style. Not nan one. Relationship books do, history books
Mm-hmm.
do, but children's books, they always are present, because children have to learn those motor skills. No matter how much you try to fast track them, they have to learn their one, two, threes and the ABCs just like everybody else. So don't ever
Yeah.
look at it as, yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I think it's important for little black boys and little black girls to learn more about their image,
Hmm.
of who they are. And I wish, more content creators like yourself, authors like yourself, will write books about that, for the ones that adolescents coming up into teens that, going through puberty, experiencing, uh, what it is to be a teenager, talk about peer pressure, like all those things that, you go through from your adolescent to your teen years, things of that nature too, as children grow up. Something relatable, that's for uh, little black boys and girls.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Patrice, I've heard you on a few panels, and it's a pleasure to speak to you. I think one
Oh,
of the
thank you, Darshan. I
yeah,
aw,
appreciate
one of
that.
Nikki.
yeah,
She getting her flowers.
it's such an honor to speak to you. I've heard you quite a few times, and I'm just happy. I'm happy to hear from y'all.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, you seem to be a very respectable young man. I like how you speak. I like your mindset or how you talk about what you want to see for our people and how what you're doing to help in that sense. And that's where it starts, right? Like if any young mind, male or female, young black mind, have any advice, have any uh, uh, motivation or inspiration that they can give to another young mind, that's how it starts, right? And we have to create more of that in our community and in our culture. So being on these panels and going out into the community and things of that nature, and like you said, leading by example. So I thank you for that, and being the young man that is also a husband and a father of a little black girl. Do you have a son or just only a little girl?
No, I just have a little girl. Just
Okay.
have a little girl right now. Yep.
Yeah, a little girl that's gonna, when you have children that are up and they're gonna go to school, know that a lot of times kids can be cruel in school. And it don't matter. I don't care how prestige your school is. Sometimes the more prestige it is, the more cruelty and bullying that happens with, with kids of color. So um, I think it's very important that we sit down and have these conversations, because if they young minds, then this is when children are old enough to have the conversation, is when they start asking the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I,
when on the level in which they are able to handle the conversation. Of course, everything is in content, but I mean,
right.
like your daughter, when you said your daughter said she wasn't black, it was time to have that conversation, and you realize that. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and as Black people, this is the thing about us. We always gonna always have to have conversations with our Black boys and girls. It's gonna have to be the police conversation about the police. It's gonna have to be about the image of your race. It's gonna be have to be about you know, you being a young boy or a young girl growing up in America. It's conversations that predominantly no other race has have to have. Black people have to have with their children,
Mhm.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I'll,
Yeah.
it's funny that, okay, so I have a representation story that's kind of a little bit ridiculous on my part. But it was my understanding of the color thing again with a younger child, and it was Santa Claus. He was about 6 or 7, and he said to me, "There's no black Santa Claus. Or Santa Claus not black." And I was like, "Well, first of all, I'm Santa Claus, but you don't know that just yet. The second, what makes you think he can't be, considering he's an imaginary figure?" When I was a child, it was a whole lot of a representation just around like animals, and like my mom wouldn't put anything that didn't look like us on our gifts, except for like animals. That was the other exception. She even bought like a Santa Claus statue and painted its face black so that we would understand that we're still American. We still enjoy the same things, and yet it looks different for us because we are different in some ways. And so I went out and bought all the little black Santa Claus things and put them all around the house. All the little dolls that we had for the holidays at that time had black representation, and then we had a real American experience and went to Universal Studios and did what regular folks do at a middle class experience. But there's a difference to it, and we have to make sure that we give them all of that, and we frame it in a way that they can understand it at each stage of development. I think it starts outright. We sing those songs to them, when they're in the womb or immediately thereafter, and that thing imprints on them along the way. Um, we're aware of what we put in front of them on the coffee table or on the television. We just have to be more cognizant of what blackness is inside of our home, inside of the words that we speak, and what we project onto the world. Um, so I guess my question, if we're moving forward and we understand that people don't have financial literacy in that way, how do we make it make sense at every stage of development um, today? Where do we start? If the metric has moved in the way that you say, Darshan, where
Yeah.
do we start?
Okay. I'm glad you asked. The way that we start moving that financial metric is that child tax credit that you get when you don't put that money aside for your children for 18 years because the government took it away from you for the whole year. When you don't put that money aside for your children, they will not have a financial head start. When I graduated
Mm,
high school, this is man, this is so important because it's still happening to this day. When I had graduated high school at I was 18, all I got was a congratulations. It's time for you to get out of my house and get a job.
hmm Yeah,
So when I got old enough,
that's a
before
big
I,
mistake too. I
oh
just
yeah,
want to say that a
oh
lot of
yeah,
Black mothers and fathers did to our Black boys and girls. We really
oh,
did.
all
I
the
That's a
try
time.
not to.
conversation. That's a
It is.
conversation.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
and I
Well, schedule a time. Doggone it.
yeah, we're gonna do it. So what I realized was I said, you know what, I got to be the change that I want to see. So I say, if I ever have a child, I'm gonna make sure that I put some money aside. But I didn't realize how much money my parents were getting from me every year. I'm talking about I didn't have anything saved up when I came out of high school. Not one. All I had was a congratulations. It's time for you to get a job. We're gonna help you find a place. We're not gonna put a down payment on it. We're gonna help you find a place after you save up enough money. So to answer your question, if we don't give our children a financial head start from the
Mm-hmm.
income tax that the government is allowing us to have to move forward, then that's where we fail. That's where we're always going to fail financially, because out of that whole year, you missed it the whole year. So once it comes to you, if you don't have the financial discipline to say, you know what, I missed out on the whole year, and I know I probably want to get me a couch, but let me put this money aside for you, because if something happens to me, I need to at least leave you something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at your children's life, if you made it, here's the thing, and it's so disturbing. If you go 18 entire years, 18 entire years without putting at least $100 away a year as a parent financially,
Mm-hmm.
financially, you disappointed them. You failed them in that sense. Yes, you're a great parent, but you failed them financially because you made so much money off the child tax credit that you didn't even put away $100. So when you
And a
don't
lot
put
of
money
that,
away,
Darshan, too, comes from your parent not having financial literacy. They
right,
that wasn't taught to them, and so on and so on, and that
right,
they don't do it to you. And that's so important now that you're saying that we need to. It has to start at home, because we know they're not teaching it in school for the most
oh
part. They
yeah, they'll
teaching you
never.
how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and all that, but they're not teaching you financial literacy to sustain or gain wealth or have generational wealth moving
Right.
forward. When we know that when the white baby is born, they born with it already.
Mm-hmm.
The family
Mm-hmm.
got the trust fund set up, the college fund set up, the this set up, the that set up. So in the ways like you're saying, we can do through the child tax credit. We can also do it through life insurance. It's
Mm-hmm.
different, means of ways that we, can do it, and even
Yeah.
trust funds, the savings funds.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, I always focus on the foundation of the child tax credit, because I know that's something that's pretty much guaranteed if you're going to file your taxes, that's money that's going to come back to you.
Hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's the benefit of filing with the government when you have children, is up to a certain amount of kids they give you money back. But
Because you're getting it because of the children, but then you don't
right.
use it on the children.
Yeah, and you know what? They know that across the globe with everybody. And with me, I told my wife and I, actually, before we even got married, we had talked about this, because I had told her, I say, listen, I want to have kids one day, but if we don't put money aside, I'm gonna tell you right now, our kid ain't gonna make it. She's like, what you
Hmm.
mean? I say people need a financial head start. See,
Yeah.
when you get into the work world, you need to be able to go work for somebody just to experience it, so you can find out if that's what you want to do, if that's the type of
Hmm.
business you want to run. But you need to also have the confidence of saying, I will quit this job and walk
Yep.
away, or even accept to get fired, because I have money set aside.
Yep.
And we
Yeah.
fall into that scarcity of, oh man, if I lose my job, I'm not going to pay my rent. If
Hmm.
you ever look, if you ever listen to some of these financial people, they say, have 6 months of emergency money.
Yes.
Wh-
Yeah.
why is that? Why have 6 months? Because within 6 months, you should be able to bounce back on your feet within 30 days.
Some should happen. Some should be
Yeah.
happening in six. Yeah.
But in
I
six
agree.
months, they give that lack of, well, okay, you can still float your bills, but you need to be on top of what you need to do, because the way of the world is making money and paying your bills.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I
we
So
have
I
to
had,
admit,
so conditioned
it's
and indoctrinated in working for somebody else, making
yeah.
them wealthy, paying,
Hmm.
just living paycheck to paycheck, and just making do, and just saying, "Ooh, long as I pay
Yeah.
rent this month, I got all my bills paid. Thank you, Jesus," and that's
Hmm.
it.
I have
And
I
we
have
okay
to
with that.
I have to admit that was probably the hardest part in making the decision to get a divorce.
Hmm.
Um was knowing the financial wreck and ruin that would come with it, for
Mm,
both myself and my children. And yet, I had to have them understand that your spiritual well-being, so to speak, is most important. You can't have the drive or ambition that Darshan has, or the others that we see in the space similar to him, without knowing who you are full well as a person. And that comes down to a whole lot of understanding you. And so it was hard for me, because I had just gotten to the point where we as a family were able to make those, we had made sacrifices and were able to put money aside and were able to um, enjoy the journey, right? But not, there wasn't joy in it.
mhm.
Um, and they needed to see that, because to be able to provide for someone in the way that you do, or for people in the way that you do, Darshan, um, that takes a lot more than just currency in the form of dollars and cents.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and even
I
to the
appreciate
point,
you for that.
Oh,
yeah,
thank you
and
so much,
even to the
JP.
point where he talked about, having something for your kids for later on instead of putting them out the house and saying, okay, you got to get a job, you got to go to school, you got to do something, but you got to get out of here, right? And that's predominantly what we did to our black children, unfortunately, without having any leverage. Even if they went away to school, when they come back, they in debt like crazy with student loans and debt, right? And and
Mm-hmm.
and they're and they're coming out owing more than what they're going to make their first job. So if they could owe hundreds of thousands, depending on whatever they went to school for, in school debt, right? 70 to a hundreds of thousand. Doggone well, first fresh coming out of college, more likely you're not going to be making that. So you're
Mm-hmm.
already in debt. You're behind the eight ball. You're in the red, right? And then you have no financial nothing to help you stay afloat while you get out of debt. So I agree
Mm-hmm.
with you 100% on that perspective, that is a huge conversation that I think we need to have in the black community. I think, yeah, JP, definitely this should be a subject matter in and of itself, separately, just about what we do to our black boys and girls when once they hit 18 years old. The force of putting them out the house, the force of, because we got to realize too, and I've said this on many platforms, and I think a lot of times you realize it before you let your child leave that house or go off to college, if you know if they college material.
Right.
Do you know if they're gonna survive and make it? So how's that gonna look? How you gonna set them up to to be financially sufficient and say,
Mm-hmm.
look, okay, you struggled through high school, but you made it. You say college ain't for you. So what let's sit down and have this conversation, and what's this going to look like? What's your next move going to be? So have money been saved to set this child up to go maybe get some certifications, and say, now let's talk about how we can use resources to start your own plumbing business, or your own electrical business, or your own this type of business, if you're good at something that you can do a trade in or a STEM in, and not necessarily have a college degree in, but can still be successful and make good money.
Mm-hmm. You know,
So
and
all those conversations need to be had in the black community, because we
right.
bad with doing that.
I also think that in the black community, I think we need to realize that as much as black people try to put white people on this pedestal of like they're the ones of the upper echelon, a lot of their
Mm-hmm.
children, male or female, when they go to college, a lot of them delete themselves. A lot of them go
Mm-hmm.
into depression. A lot of
Because of the
them
pressures.
withdraw.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot
Yep.
of them
The
withdraw from
pressures.
college because their parents didn't teach them about the world. They were so privileged to where they feel so entitled that when other kids kind of like bully them or don't really accept them, those kids hurt themselves. I'm up
Mm-hmm.
here in Arkansas, And at the University of Arkansas, those kids, the girls that join
Hmm.
those Greek fraternity sororities,
Sororities. Hmm.
oh, listen, they go through the most.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Is the sororities?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
go through the most. And I was
Mhm.
surprised to hear the amount of girls, just the women that go through what they go through. And then you got the guys who don't even make it out. It's not reported on national news. It's not even reported in
Mhm.
local news, you know. So my whole thing is if we as black people, if you will, can learn to look back and say, listen, I know everyone trying to make it seem like our white counterparts and our Indian counterparts are just so much better than us. They're not. It's
Yep.
just how you apply yourself. If you don't get out there to go talk to people,
But
to
again,
network,
Darshan, it's perception that we even have of them that's
right?
been indoctrinated into us and conditioned to us. Do you know it is a lot of people that actually do believe that the other race is better than us,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
supreme, or above us, or
yeah.
whatever, just because they have the money and the resources and all those things? They
What
actually think that that makes them better than us.
you
That's
know
what our
what's
own people think. A lot
right?
of our own people think,
You know
and
what's so
and
ironic?
that to me is that's asinine. Like, oh my
You
god.
you you know what's so ironic? If you look at American Greed, you don't see us on American Greed. You see them. They're the ones with the Ponzi schemes. It's a few black people that go through the cracks,
Right, a
but
few,
it's
right,
mostly them.
exactly. Exactly. They commit some of the listen.
Yeah, because they
Mm,
know they know that they're so well trusted when it comes to their color complex that they're going to get extra financing because that's just the way the banking system is set up. When
and
I
they don't
first
care, who they scam. They
no,
own you, me, the other ones, the ones like the other ones. They
they can
don't
yeah
care.
they can give two shits you know who they take money from, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree
but we
with you. I agree with you
yeah we just
100%
we just
on
got to
that.
open
But
our eyes. We just got to open our eyes and find out what it is that we really trying to stick to and stick to it for at
but I
least for a
like that
couple of years.
I like that you said you're about solutions. So when we have this conversation, I think JP, you should set something up about what black parents have done with pushing their children out, like you said, out of the nest, out of the homes, and what are some of the solutions that we can do in our culture to kind of captivate a better light with showing setting our children up financially. Like I said, through things like what Darshawn is talking about, through the child tax credit, through life insurance, through trust funds, through this or that, or whatever. Because that is not really talked about in our community like it should be, and I think we are sending our children, off to a world that they have no idea. They think they do, but they don't have no idea. And then they get out there. And that's why even our children and grandchildren's credits is becoming messed up because no financial literacy, no
Yeah.
nothing set for them, no path for them to follow. So I think it's actually a great conversation to have.
I appreciate that. I've scheduled the conversation for tomorrow at 4:20. I'm learning to do things in the moment for a workaround. Thank you to Wanda Washington for saying that she's glad to see that I'm better. I really do believe that in recent moments, the being pulled down the steps may have been a bit of a brain trauma up here. But then again, there are a host of other reasons why I would have had some aphasia. So I'm learning workarounds for not being able to do some things. So I scheduled it for tomorrow at 4:20. If y'all can make it, great. I put the clip up there. I just now loaded it, so we can have a discussion about it tomorrow, and people will know. I appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you
Appreciate you
too.
too. I'm gonna get ready and say good night. And JP, thank you once again
Wait,
for
Darshan, I
having
think
a
you
great screen.
broke up.
Yeah, no, I say I appreciate you too.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having a good stream tonight and good conversation as always. It's always productive, and it always leave me thinking, and leave me thinking, what else? What else can we do? What else? how to resolve this and come to resolution. So thank you for that. That's one reason why I like coming to your panel, because you really do care about our people like I do. And meeting Deshaun and hearing him speak so well, I love what he stands for as a young black man as well. So, and salute to the chat, everybody that, and all the secret people that's listening behind the scenes. Hey y'all,
You
we know y'all there.
know, I
So yeah, so
can tell
yeah,
from the
absolutely.
analytics.
Yeah, and everybody that was on the chat that spoke, Queen and 84
Yes.
as well, that came up, and shout out to Joanna Washington in the chat, always bringing a great perspective. I have a lot of respect for that sister. I do understand where she's coming from with a lot of what she's
Yes.
saying. I think a lot of times she's misunderstood, and that's unfortunate. But hopefully, things will people will not take it so personal and just look at we have to look at everybody's point of view, and two things can be right at one time, and even if you don't agree with it, you should respect someone's opinion and the views and things of that nature, and not call them ignorant Nathan Daly just because they don't agree with you.
Why you
Right.
gonna bring down the wrath of Black Police YouTube on this little woman?
Oh, he
Listen,
gonna
all
get
right,
my
it's all
wrath.
right,
He
it's
get
all
my
right.
rap. Girl, did you see
Hey,
what he did
Nathan,
on
anytime
his
you want
panel
to
and,
have the
and calling me
conversation,
out?
no, I did not. No,
Hot
I did
mess.
not.
So I'm gonna call him out
When
by his
when
name like he did me.
when I heard that he was
I ain't
calling out
scared.
Six the
I ain't
Goddess, I
scared.
knew. I was like, well, that's bottom paid
Yeah, I
for.
saw the
I'm done.
106 the goddess, but the one before that was on me. It was on Orenthal Wallace, which is the young man that's fighting for his life in Florida on trial, for deleting the cop. But because I brought that perspective to him, he brought my name up, and some things that I said on another panel with what I guess he solely not only disagrees with, but obviously thinks it's ignorant. But as I said, I double down on my stance, and
Mm.
he can come see me about that because I know what I know, and and it is what it is. That's it.
Yeah.
No, I I I appreciate that. I'll take it, Mr. Daly. You are welcome over here anytime to have the conversation with Patrice. That day, I'm gonna grab my popcorn, my licorice, and my chocolate chip cookies and just host the forum. But no, I'm kidding. No, seriously though, I appreciate y'all for allowing me the opportunity to have the space for these conversations. It's not regular. I would say black YouTube content in a way. We go anywhere from, ridiculous conversations about peanut butter and egg sandwiches to deep dives into what it is to be black in the educational system. So that's how my mind works and y'all rock with it. So I appreciate you. We're growing, by the way. We're at 255 citizens, the last that I saw. That's
Oh,
here
congrats.
on, thank you, here on YouTube. On Instagram, there are 200 and I think almost 20. And so slowly but surely we're getting there. And I think that my love is calling me to explain why I haven't seen him yet. Yes. So I appreciate you all very much. And I'm just going to cut this short. I love y'all. Keep your spirit up and we'll see you in the streams. Deuces,
All right,
y'all.
take
All
care.
right. Peace,
Peace.
Peace.
AP.
Peace.